when he worked 3 grueling jobs to pay for his girlfriend's tuition, only for her to dump him right after graduation, calling him a poor island boy with no future. Broke and humiliated, he returned to his quiet, dying hometown on Guawa Island. Then, a system awakened in his vision, granting him an infinite sea scan for rare shrimp and those rare 1 in 10,000 white sea urchins worth millions hidden beneath the mud. He realized his future was never gone, it was waiting in the ocean. If you like this journey, hit subscribe, it really helps the channel out. But how did this all start? Let us go back to the day everything changed. Long-distance bus, then a smaller one in the next town, then a bumpy local village bus. The rest of the way to the pier, just as he was about to board, harsh winds shut down all sailings, 2 days stranded, but the ferry finally pushed off. On day 3, 3 long hours of salt air across the strait back home. As a kid, he got seasick on every single swell, and the islanders mocked him. Now the breeze smells great and his stomach holds. He is grown up. The old aunties along the road wave, and he waves back. The houses thin out. Old folks, small kids, almost everyone young has left for the mainland, chasing actual money. Gao Island is too far out for anything to reach easily. Most families barely scrape by. His is no exception. He pushes the door open to find a house frozen in time, a black and white television, an arm-length tape recorder, a pull-string radio on the wall, wooden push-out window frames, the 1980s frozen in place. His sister Gang Pong married off young and he went away to school. Nothing here has changed in years. He tears the dusty celebrity posters off his bedroom wall, then pulls out the mattress and quilt, expecting them to be stale. Instead, they smell of fresh sunlight. Pong must have been coming back to air them out. The clean tables and chairs show she visits often. Parents are long gone. It has just been the two of them holding each other up for years. Pong paid most of his first-year tuition and pushed living expenses on him. Even when he tried to refuse, he owed her too much. He has no idea when he will ever pay her back. His stomach growls. The island has no supermarket, just one small convenience store. He walks down to buy instant noodles, eggs, and sausages, then heads back to start a fire the old way, since there is no electric kettle. The hollow next to the firewood stove heats water for drinking, the way they have always done it. By the time he has noodles with 2 eggs and 2 sausages ready, he is sweating straight through his shirt. That is when Pong pushes the door open. They both jump, asking at the same time what the other is doing here. He drags a chair over and pulls out his graduation certificate. Done. Namong University, ranked quite high nationally. Her face lights up, then freezes. She has remembered Ya-chan Chun. He saves her the trouble and tells her plainly that Ya-chan Chun got into grad school and broke up with him. Pong wants to speak but cannot find the words. Ya-chan Chun and he grew up here together as childhood sweethearts, neither family well off. Pong knows a lot of Ya-chan Chun's living expenses came from the part-time work he did. She watches his face for cracks but finds none. She tells him a college graduate can do anything. He sighs and asks her if she remembers his major, financial management. She says proudly, the kind of degree she heard led to running big companies. He tells her the bitter truth. The major sounds impressive, but usually students in those classes come from wealthy factory-owning families, and they only study to inherit what is already theirs. Pong almost throws up her hands, wondering if his education was a total waste. He tells her he will stay a few days first to figure things out, especially since staying back home means rent is completely free anyway. She invites him for dinner, but he turns her down. She has already helped him too much. His brother-in-law has never said it out loud, but he knows the man resents her for spending money on her younger brother. They have 2 daughters to raise on a tight budget. He cannot add another mouth to their table. Pong pats herself down looking for some quick cash to leave him, but comes up empty. She only stopped by to close an upstairs window left open 2 days ago. She decides his laziness is acting up again. She promises him a good meal next time and heads back to her kids. He finishes his noodles in quiet silence. Then he grabs a straw hat off the door and heads outside. This bamboo hat is called a dongpo hat here, good for sun or rain, standard island gear. Even with hats, islanders end up looking darker than mainlanders. He is not pale, but he is tall, decent-looking, and the sun-kissed skin actually suits him. He walks down to the shore. No postcard golden sand and blue water here, just vast, messy black mud flat. As the tide pulls back, Uncle In strolls past with his teacup, telling him not to bother because the tide is weak today. and there are no major finds. He was not planning on foraging anyway, but 2 kids are already out on the mud flat, one digging, one raking, surrounded by heavy tools and almost empty buckets. He laughs out loud. Suddenly, both heads snap up, highly indignant, demanding to know who he is laughing at. One claims his dad is Wang Bop, the other says Li Du. He is surprised. Those 2 families live side by side, and both fathers are barely older than him. He had not realized their children were already this old. The kids warn him that knowing their fathers will not scare them, since both are off working on the mainland. They are left behind kids, just like most of the children raised by grandparents while their parents work on the mainland. A sad reality. They catch him looking at their buckets, crowding around him to ask if he is actually about to rob 2 kids of their catch. He looks that bad. Out of nowhere, his head spins, his stomach turns. The sudden wave passes as fast as it came. When he blinks, his vision becomes razor sharp. A voice in his head tells him the host is facing the sea. The infinite scanning system is awakening, asking whether he wants to load it. An infinite scanning system, a total cheat code. He loads it instantly. A second later, he looks at the mud flat and almost shouts. He can see straight beneath the mud, spotting all kinds of shellfish. And what stops his heart is a massive swarm of mantis shrimp packed underneath. The scan reaches about 10 meters. When he runs a few steps, the field moves with him. He swallows hard. He is about to get rich. He never ate seafood in college. It was always too expensive. Wang Sobo and Li Soa, the 2 kids, watch his face turn pale, then green, then red, while he runs back and forth like a madman. They are genuinely worried they have triggered some kind of medical fit. One asks if he is all right, while the other asks if he is trying to extort money from their grandparents. The word uncle makes him flinch. They already call him that, he tells. He has 0 interest in their buckets. Still, he considers borrowing one. But they guard their buckets fiercely. He'd only make them cry. It is his first day back, so he heads home to grab his own bucket and a rusty eel clamp. The old tool is barely usable, but he tosses it in and runs back. They are still there, watching him like hawk in case he steals their snails. Kicking off his shoes, he rolls up his pants and steps right into the mud. He is careful. Sharp cowrie shells will easily slice up unprotected feet. He scoops seawater into his bucket to keep the future catch alive. Sobo cannot help himself, immediately warning him about the weak tide. He sneers that there is nothing out there and he is just wasting time. But today, their big brother is going to show them how it is done. They roll their eyes, telling him to keep bragging since Sobo is the expert. His mouth twitches. The kid hit a nerve. Time to search. His scan highlights the densest spot, and honestly, that cheat system feels like a hack. Boys lose their suspicion and slowly wander over with their buckets. He scrapes away the top mud, revealing a massive air hole right there. The kids stare in awe. A bigger hole always means a bigger catch. Sobo declares it a razor clam king, but Soa insists no clam has a hole that big. It must be a mud crab. Their constant bickering gives him a massive headache. He asks what if it is a zebra mantis shrimp, making them instantly freeze. They scoff that their island has absolutely no zebra mantis shrimp. True, this place is mostly known for basic shellfish and snails. Normal shrimp sell for 70 a pound, but zebra mantis shrimp fetch hundreds. It is mid-July, the fishing ban is active, and seafood prices are peaking. A rare catch like that could easily fetch over 300 a pound. Boys are highly skeptical, but their curiosity is absolutely killing them. The target is deeper than expected. His rusty clamp cannot reach. He asks Soa for his shovel, and the boy hesitates before handing it over. He clears away most of the mud and uncovers 2 fat cat snails. Squeezing out the water, he drops 1 shell into each of their buckets. They look touched, realizing their big brother is not a bad guy after all. He shovels a bit more, stopping with a foot left to avoid spooking it. The scan shows a U-shaped burrow with an escape route on the other side. The creature is already fleeing, so he rolls up his sleeve and dives right in. Sobo covers his eyes, terrified a massive crab is going to pinch his fingers off. But no scream comes. The boy peeks and sees him calmly pulling his arm back. Sobo is ready to laugh until he sees the massive mantis shrimp in his hand. He drops the catch into his bucket, and Soa screams that it really is a zebra. The stripes are incredibly bold, and this beast is easily 5 or 6 ounces. Soa notices before Sobo does that the translucent shell is glowing with orange roe. That bright orange color means this prime specimen is worth an absolute fortune. Sobo gasps, instantly wishing he had been the one to dig up this prize. He estimates the price at 300. The young man asks for their thoughts. Sensing a bit of mockery, they grab their buckets and run off, leaving him speechless. With mocking eyes, the kids grab their buckets and run, leaving him utterly speechless. That makes him look like a real villain. Truth is, he was pretty tense himself. He never believed a system would choose him, but that robe-bearing zebra mantis shrimp proves it. Seeing it in his bucket settles all doubt. He uses the abandoned shovel to scrape the mud. Hidden air holes on the surface suddenly appear clearly. With his hands already filthy, he starts reaching into one hole after another. Mantis shrimp have sharp spines, but his system scan lets him slip past them safely. Every single time, most are zebra-striped, but he tosses the smallest ones right back. Just like local fishermen do, partly because there is barely any meat on them. And partly because people are watching, and being too greedy brings bad luck. Sea folk live off the water, trusting ancient unseen powers far more than mainlanders ever would. For him, it is simply about not overdoing it. He continues walking down the muddy flat. The cheat is great, but all this endless walking is really wearing out his legs. He wishes he could just scan the entire area. Suddenly, oh, you are not ready for this. Zebra mantis shrimp, not many but massive. He is genuinely about to strike it rich today. He reaches down and pulls them up. One already weighs over 1 pound. And for a zebra mantis over 1 pound, the market price instantly doubles. The only downside is they have no roe. He grabs some massive common mantis shrimp next. Any buried too deep are left behind, since digging them up would take too much energy. He pauses over some mud snails, then shovels them all in. He loves eating these. They are right on the surface and easy to scoop up. His system has other perks too. Surface targets appear far clearer to him than to anyone else on this mud flat. Everything is almost translucent within his 10-meter circle. Lifting the bucket, he feels its weight. The sky darkens as the tide rushes back. He quickly rinses his feet and grabs his shoes. He walks off the muddy flat, having eaten a late lunch around 2 in the afternoon. And Pong's visit stretching past 3, he finished late, back in the village. Dinner is served early. The aunties and elderly villagers are already out for their walks. Seeing him return barefoot from the shore, they quickly crowd around out of pure curiosity. Even on a small tide, they are bored enough to look. Boa Shim asks with a smile. If he caught anything decent, it is mostly a habit, since this city college kid probably cannot tell a green onion from a chive. He nods, and everyone falls silent. They only expected simple mussels, the most common find along this shore. They shell and dry them into a local snack called dansai. Even the name makes them sick. These elderly folks have weak eyes, crowding close and squinting down into the heavy bucket. They only see a dark mass at first, but once they recognize the catch, they gasp in shock. Boa Shim and Jingu Shim practically knock heads trying to see. Loud cries erupt, mantis shrimp, to find massive zebra mantis shrimp on a small tide. And even some loaded with red roe. This haul is worth a serious fortune. With the closed fishing season active, regular mantis shrimp sell for over 100 a pound. And the zebra ones could hit 300. His 10-pound bucket is worth over 1,000. Someone marvels that he just made several days' wages in less than 2 hours. Another villager scolds them for acting like they live in some greedy big city. He smiles and says he just got lucky. That lets them relax because luck is acceptable. He pulls a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He rarely smokes these days. This pack was bought the day he broke up with Yanan. He smoked one and stopped. No point falling apart over a woman like her. He lights one for old Jang. He greets old Jen, asking if Uncle Ohm's family is still buying seafood. The old man straightens up, proud that a college student is asking him, and says they are. They are indeed. A crowd of curious villagers follows him straight to the uncle's door. Everyone is curious about what his catch will fetch. Iomao looks up, startled by the crowd. Then he spots him in the center. They share the surname Gang, but no blood. He asks why the kid is digging clams, looks into the bucket, and nearly jumps. Zebra mantis shrimp, he gasps. The student nods calmly as the man inspects them. They are definitely wild, with 5 huge ones weighing well over half a pound. Some have roe. He weighs the massive ones one by one, calling out weights just under 6 ounces. Then 6 1/3 ounces, then 9, then nearly 9 again. The largest is a hare. Over 1.25 pounds, he gasps, telling him these 5 alone are top grade. He claims that since they are fellow villagers, he will be fair. 1,500 for the Entire bucket, the villagers are stunned. They expected 1,000, but now it is 1,500. They call him lucky, saying college students even have a different kind of luck. He keeps his face completely flat. The villagers only know common seafood prices, not the rare ones. He had checked the market values back on the beach, adding everything up. The giant zebra mantis shrimp, the smaller ones with and without roe, plus the common ones. It all retails near 3,000. The wholesale rate is lower, but no matter how he slices it, the haul is worth 2,200. Iomao weighed the half-pounders separately, meaning he knows their real value. The young man addresses him as Uncle Iomao, politely asking him to bump up the offer. Li Shimja pales and asks if college kids are always this greedy. 1,500 is already a lot, and Jingu Shim agrees. 1,500 is half a month of her husband's backbreaking labor. He knows this village too well. The folks here are simple and honest, always helping neighbors in need, but when everyone is struggling, one person's sudden windfall quickly turns into bitter envy. Almost as if his extra profit is being carved directly out of their own flesh. Iomao hesitates, offering 50 more since he is a junior. The young man's mouth twitches. He speaks up his luck must be decent since he got into a top university, and beachcombing is pure luck. He asks for a fair price, promising that next time he has goods he will return. 1,600, no more. The buyer snaps impatiently. He is the only buyer in Hagging Village. If the student refuses him, his seafood dies and dead specimens fetch completely different prices. Besides, the sea has been closed for months. The villagers have had zero luck lately, and the buyer has not seen premium goods in days. He assumes the kid will only be around for 2 or 3 days. The young man smiles, remembering Wang from his sister's village also buys seafood, and he can ask her to help him move these. He adds that when Wang's family built their house, his sister and brother-in-law went to help, meaning Wang should give them a very good rate. But he would never actually drag Pong into this. Exploiting her connections is not something he would ever do. He has no idea if they actually helped Wang build. He is just bluffing, knowing Iomao is clueless anyway. Instantly, the buyer's face goes completely pale. Jawa is small but contains 18 villages. Almost every village has a collector, and collectors never cross into other territories since a single mistake can spark a brutal fight. But if his sister sells to Wang directly, she is the one selling, not Wang crossing borders, which makes it perfectly legal. Iomao knows Wang's prices run noticeably higher, especially if his sister and brother-in-law really. When the buyer sees him about to walk off with the bucket, he completely panics. He glances nervously at the crowd, drags the young man inside, and slams the door shut. He quickly motions him to be silent, offering 2,000 yuan right on the spot. Otherwise, the other villagers will complain about the prices, but the young man just keeps smiling. Flustered, the buyer blurts out 2,300. The smile remains. Gritting his teeth, the buyer offers 2,500, and he instantly agrees. The price is way higher than expected. The buyer immediately looks sick with regret. Why did he blurt out his maximum? But he calms down, accepting the minor loss. He will make less profit, but he will not actually lose any money here. Plus, his rival Wang from the next village did not get the bargain. Outside, the villagers swarm. They crowd around him, asking for the price, but he just tells them to ask Uncle Yamo. Walking away, he leaves Yamo bitter. So much for clueless college kids. The internet claims they are completely useless, but he is playing like a seasoned pro. He decides to keep his tiny harvest of mud snails. They are only worth about 10 or 20 yuan anyway, so he plans to salt them. On his walk home, a system alert suddenly chimes. The zebra mantis shrimp have successfully sold online, instantly earning him 2,500 system points. Those points can buy a 5-meter increase in scanning range. The system asks to proceed. He had no idea his range could actually grow. 2,500 is the exact amount. But if he agrees to this upgrade, will his hard-earned cash vanish from his account as well? He selects no, but the system instantly replies that his selection is completely invalid. Before he can react, a new notification confirms the exchange was successful. His points drop to 0, but his scan range reaches 15 meters. He nearly curses out loud. And honestly, you would think a system would be polite, but it does not even ask. He quickly pulls out his phone. The 2,500 yuan is still completely untouched, meaning that real-world sales actually reward him with points on a 1-to-1 ratio. The system drains points without touching his real money. Curiously, he asks how much the next upgrade costs. Receiving no reply, he asks once more. The system finally replies that getting another 5-meter expansion will cost another 2,500 points. The math is clear. For every 2,500 yuan earned, 2,500 points drop in. Convertible to 5 meters of range, thus 25,000 yuan buys 50 meters of range. Building a successful life right in his hometown is no longer hopeless. After finishing dinner, he decides to walk to town and buy some essential supplies. His parents still cook on an old wood stove, which is far too tedious. He plans to purchase an induction cooker and some brand new equipment for digging up clams. The ancient tools in their shed are completely unsalvageable. Suddenly, someone calls out his old childhood nickname. His old friend Hede comes running over, his bald head gleaming under the lights. The guy is grinning wildly, and seeing him after all these years brings back old memories. Their shared past comes rushing back during their sophomore year of high school. Hede and a group of local kids got into an extremely violent brawl right by the seashore. One victim was left permanently paralyzed with a cracked skull. Nobody could prove the culprit. Since the other families had powerful connections, poor Hede was made the sole scapegoat. The young man did not have much, but he gave his entire savings to hire a lawyer. Unfortunately, Hede's own parents accepted quiet bribes from the other rich families, forcing their son to take the blame despite his desperate pleas to stand strong. The idiot just smiled, saying his parents could never make a living any other way. So Gong Han buried himself in legal paperwork on top of his crushing study load. Together with a rookie lawyer, they ground a 12-year sentence down to 8. But after only 5 years, Hede gets out early. Gong Han hugs him tight, pats his bald head, then kicks him hard right in the stomach. Hede yelps, asking why, but Gong Han just demands if he even cares about his future. Rubbing his head, Hede admits he thought his friend was mad about something else. What kind of future could a guy like him ever have, he flatly asks. With Gong Han still glaring, Hede says his parents did raise him, after all. He considers those 5 years behind bars as paying off his debt to them. The only person left to repay is Gong Han. He tosses him a cigarette. Hede loves this brand, especially since his parents never visited once in 5 years. Gong Han looks polite enough, but he was a real troublemaker back in the day. He just aced exams without trying, while Hede always stayed at the bottom. Suddenly, Hede pulls 451 out of his pocket and shoves it over. He wants his brother to keep it, knowing Gong Han is trying to rebuild his life. Before Gong Han can refuse, the idiot bolts, leaving Boa Shim laughing nearby. He reveals Hede borrowed 500, but handed over 450 of it. Can you believe this absolute idiot? Gong Han just stands there completely stunned. Walking over to Hede's place, he overhears him arranging another massive group fight. But this time, 2 packs of cheap cigarettes are not going to cut it. Hede demands a carton of the good stuff, knowing Gong Han likes that brand. The idiot yelps as Gong Han suddenly kicks him, turning around to find his friend. Gong Han stands there grim-faced, demanding if he has learned absolutely nothing. Has he forgotten how he ended up inside? Hede freezes, realizing he was overheard. He does not want to fight, but Gong Han is finally back in town. He wanted to help his friend, and fighting is the only skill he has. Looking up, Hede looks terrified of disappointing him. Gong Han cannot bring himself to kick him. Honestly, there is always something pitiable hidden inside a troublemaker like him. Hede was born 12 years after his brother, an unexpected, heavy pregnancy. His mother had no idea she was pregnant until the day before delivery. That night, his lazy father pushed a boat-cleaning job onto his mother. She ended up giving birth right on the deck before finishing the work. The captain went wild, believing a woman giving birth on board ruined his luck. He fired the father immediately, with heavy family planning fines stacking up. His parents blamed Hede for everything, beating and screaming at him constantly. He eventually became exactly the bad seed they always claimed he was. Gong Han tries to return the money, but Hede refuses, insisting he has cash. Asked how much he has left, he proudly says 51, like it is a fortune. Gong Han laughs, asking if he looks like he needs Zhang Hede's pity cash. Hede stammers, saying he knows Gong Han went to top school and is brilliant. Gong Han stuffs the money firmly back into his hand, closing his fingers around it. He asks if Hede is coming to the beach tomorrow, but the boy hesitates. The villagers would only laugh at him, but Gong Han has returned to build a life. He needs a helper, prompting Hede to proudly slap his chest and swear his loyalty. Hede has endless strength, but he shakes his head when Han asks if he will still fight. He declines, saying he has real work now. Han knows without Heyday saying a single word. He tried looking for honest work after prison, but everyone immediately found out. About his past, even other crews refused to hire a jinx, but following Han. Beats drifting, Han offers a share, and Heyday only asks for 1/10. Han agrees. He feels generous, asking where their family motorbike is. It was bought with hush money when Heyday went inside. It was the same money that funded his brother's wedding before being handed over. Heyday hesitates at first, but then waves his hand to dismiss the worry. He figures he will just take a beating at home and sneaks the bike out. Han takes the throttle, telling Heyday to say Han is paying him 81 a day. It saves face, Heyday promises. Within 30 minutes they finally roll. Into town, Han hits the tackle shop, grabbing straight and curved pliers. Perfect for eels or octopus, 15 yuan after hard bargaining. Next, he adds 2 pairs of tall rain boots and a dozen non-slip gloves. The puncture-resistant gloves are bought in bulk. He also grabs 2 sets of some protective clothing, because the harsh sea sun burns skin into 2 colors. A headlamp for night work. Han grabs a short-handled shovel. He adds a rake for clean catches, plus a long shovel for heavy turning. The shop owner tries pushing ground cages, and when Han hesitates over the ban, the owner reminds him he can use reservoirs or rivers. Most islands lack fresh water, but Gyo Island has both, far from Han's house, under. The shop owner's pitch, Han takes 6 smaller cages and a large can of bait. On the way out, a strange tool shaped like a long water gun catches his eye. The boss smiles since it is sat unsold. Island folks are slow to accept anything new. He calls it a shrimp pump aimed at air holes to pull up ordinary shrimp, mantis shrimp, and fat seaworms. As kids, they used rope snares, but a weak tug always missed. And too much tore the shrimp in half. The boss swears this pump keeps them lively. Han asks for the instruction manual. The shop owner is stunned since no islander ever asks, but he digs it. Out reading the booklet, Han realizes this is a godsend, 81 yuan each. Han grits his teeth and buys 2. Heyday asks if he wants 10 yuan landing nets. And Han takes 2. He started with 2,500 yuan, never expecting the tackle shop to chew through 1,600. Outside, Han spots a closed shop with a cardboard sign wanting seafood, a phone number below. Han saves the contact but does not call yet, passing a new restaurant. They see a van unloading while the young boss lady counts with a notebook. Wait until you see who catches his eye, a gorgeous woman, 27 or 28. Han chuckles, teasing him about his type. Heyday blushes deeply, shaking his head hard, telling Han that an ex-convict does not deserve a woman's affection. It would only ruin her. Then, Heyday asks if Han really broke up with Yonian. Han nods. Heyday asks why, knowing Han truly loved her and expected marriage. Han tells him simply, when it is over, no more questions. Heyday stands frozen, staring in silence, until Han finally pulls him along. Writes him off as a pervert. At the local supermarket, Han picks up daily necessities and 2 Barbie dolls from the toy corner. At the counter, he tosses Heyday a pack of cigarettes and he pockets it quickly, knowing Han is still good to him. Han tells him to make do, promising better ones once they are on their feet. He laughs, saying these are great. He used to smoke 101 trash privately. He thinks Han's optimism is overcooked, and they will be lucky to earn back the cost of the gear, but he cannot bear to dampen his spirits. At the entrance, Han loads up on vegetables and snails from their reservoir. The vegetables homegrown by villagers selling leftovers, everything fresh and pollution-free. Everyone from selling the mantis shrimp is now gone. Heyday is alarmed at how fast money leaves Han's hand and offers his own, but Han tells him that money is still his uncle's and they will forage again tomorrow. He thinks foraging will not keep them from starving, but he sees Han's eyes and goes quiet. Passing a gas station, Han pulls over and asks him for 100. He hands it over. Without thinking, Han has the attendant fill the tank, and he protests that there is still gas in it. The motorbike sips. The fill costs only 121. Han hands back the 88. Han tells him they cannot let his uncle look down on them when borrowing his motorbike. He says nothing, knowing brother Han is doing it for him. Nearing the house, Han spots Gangpeng walking toward him. He sends Heyday to carry the load inside and take the motorbike home. Han then asks his sister why she is here. She watches Heyday's retreating back, weighing his record. She then reminds herself Han is a grown man, a top school graduate, and serving time does Not bar a man from changing, she brought a mat and mosquito coils, knowing the old. Mat is long past use and the wooden bed is brutal on his back. Han had not thought. Of mosquito coils, he digs out the two Barbie dolls and tells her they are for his nieces. She looks like she might cry, her little brother having grown up enough to think of others when it used to flow only the other way. She takes them and scolds him for spending so much. He hears a woman saying one thing and meaning another. After she leaves, he finds the television no longer turns on. The tape recorder still plays cassettes, but he is not in the mood, so he lies under the electric fan and scrolls his phone. Island summers never bite like city ones. One fan is plenty. The only drawback is the patchy signal that makes every video stutter. He falls asleep and wakes up groggy. The Tide app shows two tides today, the first from 4 in the morning to 7, the second from 4 the afternoon to 8 at night. The first window is already gone, only one window a day usually falls at a humane hour, the others before dawn or in the dead of night. He wonders if living by the sea will mean working those two. He will let nature take its course. The village has too few people for breakfast shops, so he throws something simple together. Foraging is at 4, he shares a late lunch with Heyday at 3, and his cooking is better than Han's. The snails are fresh enough that he ends up eating an extra bowl of rice without noticing. They pack their gear, fill old military canteens against the heat, and head back to the same muddy beach. A small tide usually empties the village, but Han's Hall yesterday must have lit a fire. Boa Shim, Lee, Shimja, and Jingu Shim are out. Even Uncle NY and old Jenning. Heyday mutters that he has never seen a small. Today's low tide is smaller than yesterday, but the mudflats are surprisingly lively. Kids like Wang Xiaobao and Li Xiaoya are expected, but seeing so many adults is different. He does not blame them. In a village of elders and children, any extra cash helps. People say a small tide has no treasures, but that is only relative. With enough patience, a hard worker can always find something on the beach. Some experienced elders have already pulled up small mantis shrimp, but nothing rare. Today there is even less to find, so Jiang Han pulls his buddy aside. He points to a spot ahead, asking Zhang Heidai if he can see water spitting. His friend used to have better eyesight, but the scanning system changed everything. That system vision leaves the other far behind. Zhang Heidai rubs his eyes and agrees. Those spouts are air holes. It means something alive is waiting underneath. Jiang Han hands over the shrimp pump and tells his friend to dig right there. He carries his own gear to a quieter spot, checking his 15-meter scanning range. This upgrade saves so much labor. He stops where a zebra mantis shrimp is flagged. Meanwhile, the villagers swarm Zhang Heidai, realizing his spot is packed with treasures. Focusing on his own target, he spits into his palm and grips his pump. The first pull misses completely, but the second brings up a massive zebra mantis shrimp. It twists on the tip. Seconds later, he pulls up another giant. Both weigh over half a pound. Switching to ordinary shrimp, he smiles. The tool is incredibly fast and leaves the shells flawless. Old methods cannot compete. Naturally, the crowd swarms him the moment 3 people yell at once. They spend hours gathering tiny scraps, while his bucket is overflowing with premium catches. 2 rare zebra mantis shrimp sit right on top of his massive pile. Believe me, everyone remembers his massive sale yesterday. They know he made serious money. They marvel at how a college student is outperforming lifelong fishermen. Begging for his secret, they are only met with a casual laugh. Coastal folk believe in luck, yet these veterans spot air holes instantly. Yet they only pull up tiny clams. Uncle Mao buys those for 31 cents. At this rate, they will not even gather 5 pounds before high tide. The brutal back pain afterward will cost more in medicated patches than they earn. Severe joint pain will lock up their knees. Even Zhang Heidai is stunned. Zhang Heidai had only half believed his friend's promise, ignoring the water spouts. Plenty of worthless sea creatures spit water, but this is different. He never imagined every single pump would land a prize. The crowd stares. They desperately ask where they bought these magical tools. Jiang Han points to town. Everyone is shocked to hear the local tackle shop sells something so advanced. He warns them that stock was extremely low, and restocking might take a while. Auntie Bao suddenly remembers the shop owner trying to sell her one before. Believing it was a total scam, she had scoffed and walked out. She figures only a gullible college kid would buy such an odd contraption. Now the aunties quietly plan a trip to town. Meanwhile, his eyes lock onto a shell. It is a massive, beautiful moon clam, but this target proves incredibly stubborn. He uses his shovel to pry it loose. Old Luo stares in absolute shock. The old man asks if that is truly a moon clam, pointing a trembling finger. Jianghan nods, dropping it inside. They are cheaper than zebra shrimp, but still valuable. These clams are heavy. Just 4 or 5 of this size make a pound, meaning a massive profit. That means huge profit, and old Na is starting to struggle. Breathing gets heavy. Both are working hard, yet only the boy finds moonclams. Why did the old man get ordinary ones? The boy reaches over to see if he is okay. A fit of pure rage at his age could put him straight to bed. Old Na forces himself calm, claiming he is fine. He turns back, refusing to believe his luck has vanished. Just then, Heyday walks over with only the mantis shrimp the boy had him pump. Along with some cheap shellfish, he is ready to comfort the boy if his haul is bad. But then he spots the boy's overflowing bucket and his jaw completely drops. The boy does not explain anything. He tells Heyday to swap the pump for a sand shovel since he has already cleared every spot. He points him toward a new patch of seeping water. Heyday cannot tell what lies underneath, praising the boy's amazing eyesight. The boy tells him to dig fast but carefully, because broken shells are worthless. Heyday rolls up his sleeves, squats down, and trusts the boy completely. His eyes widen. Out comes the very first one, beautiful and intact. A heavy moonclam, terrified the villagers might swarm, he digs frantically. He pulls up a few cheap carries too, but mostly high-quality moonclams. By the time the greedy villagers move toward him, he has cleared most spots. Li Shimja stares wide-eyed, wondering aloud if they have been blessed by the Dragon King himself. Heyday shifts to a new spot, but his finds drop to worthless. The villagers' eyes pivot to the boy, seeing him scoop up moonclam after moonclam. They crowd his patch as Li Shimja smiles. She asks if he minds them digging here. If he refuses, gossip will drown him. So he says the mud flat is open to anyone. Li Shimja squats down. She shovels, admitting she never expected someone so young to be this good at finding spots. Just a few shovels in, she pulls up a cheap, tiny carry. She nearly curses. Meanwhile, his shovel turns up a massive moonclam right beside her. Her jaw drops. Since the 2 spots are side by side, she can only stare as he pulls up 2 ordinary carries in a row. She relaxes. Nobody is lucky all the time. But his third find is another moonclam. Unbelievable. His fourth is another. If those 2 cheap carries had not blocked them, he would not have bothered. Li Shimja goes completely silent. An hour later, the tired villagers give up. The 2 boys only grow more excited. By the end, they have more than half a bucket of mantis shrimp and an overflowing bucket of moonclams. The villagers feel their hearts go cold. How can moonclams completely overflow their bucket? When they themselves cannot scrape together cheap carries, the boy waves politely and says goodbye. He tells them there is still half an hour until high tide. But he is tired and wants to rest. Anyone else can dig his leftovers. He has already cleared out the best stuff. Heyday ignores them. Seeing his friend act polite, he follows suit. The villagers watch them walk off, both relieved and completely crushed, wondering if they have lost all their luck. Old Na sighs, asking why they could not share even a little luck with him. They carry their heavy buckets back to the boy's house first, since Heyday cannot read the mud. He pulled up ordinary carries alongside the moonclams. They sort them out, setting aside 5 moonclams cracked during the harvest. Plump carries fill 2 big bowls. The cracked moon clams weigh over a pound, and Han tells his friend they will keep these to eat. Heyday nods, knowing cracked shells will not fetch a good price. The entire afternoon feels like a dream to Heyday. Usually, he is terribly unlucky. So unlucky that other people's buckets overflow while his stays completely empty. But today, under Han's lead, they pulled a massive haul. Honestly, Han is a little confused himself. After breaking up with Yachan Chan, his nerves have been shot. Part of him constantly fears the system will disappear. He just couldn't relax. Only after standing on the beach seeing the massive catch did his heart finally settle. Heyday asks if they should haul the rest to Uncle Jamo Mao. Han tells him not quite yet. They will eat first since the catch will survive. News of their haul has almost certainly reached the uncle. If they rush over covered in mud, he will read them as desperate and price them low. Besides, lunch was at 3 p.m. and it is already 9. And Han is starving. Heyday volunteers to cook, preparing simple boiled carries and steamed moon clams, since prime ingredients only need the simplest preparation. The friend sighs at the cracked shells, wishing Han Hyung had harvested them without breaking a single one. Once Han judges the timing is right, they each carry a heavy bucket to Uncle Io. Mao, the old man, is getting ready for bed when he sees what they brought. His sleepiness vanishes on the spot. Uncle Io Mao is not shocked that Han dug up moon clams. Only that he dug this many in a single low tide. The bucket looks like a farm harvest. Rather than a quick forage, he turns one in the lamplight, confirms it is wild, and mutters that Han's luck has gone past reasonable. He weighs the two massive zebra shrimp at 5.2 and 5.7 ounces, both over half a pound, the ordinary. Shrimp weighs 12 pounds and the moon clams a startling 35. He offers yesterday's price on the mantis shrimp and 91 a pound on the moon clams since the size is good. Then he pounds his old calculator until it spits out 4,452. Heyday is completely stunned, since Uncle Io Mao usually grinds every price to the bone, and this offer is clearly not low. He decides Han Hyung is incredible since even this old fox does not dare scheme. Han tells Uncle Io Mao to transfer the money. The money lands a minute later. The system reports that the host sold seafood for 4,452, gaining matching points. It asks about exchanging for scanning range. Han is too tired to answer. Last time his choice changed nothing. The system defaults, upgrading his scanning range to 20 meters. With 2,500 deducted, 1952 is banked, 548 short. At least he now knows the rule of 2,500 per 5 meters, with any remainder banked. He transfers 451 to Heyday, who had only imagined a tenth of Han's earnings, never expecting triple digits. He asks if it is too much, since a tenth is far less. 445. Han says he rounded it up to clear the debt tomorrow, and Heyday nods. He no longer needs his uncle's money, though he can borrow again if he runs out. His uncle is better to him than his own parents. Heyday remembers the Barbie dolls Han bought his nieces and decides he should bring his uncle some fruit. Next visit, they head home, Han with 4,000 cash left. Looking at his dilapidated house, Han tells himself this cannot go on. The place has to become livable, and that takes real money. He also wants his own boat. The fishing ban ends at noon on September 16th, over 2 months away. Any typhoon or heavy rain kills a foraging day. Even earning 2,000 daily, 2 months only brings in 120,000. Online boat prices are wildly inconsistent, leaving him with no choice but to go visit the shipyard at the port himself, since his own small island lacks one entirely, the crab traps he bought are completely useless during this fishing ban, even after it finally lifts up. Strict regional rules dictate where they go. He must consult the local village committee. With his scanning system, clam digging is guaranteed. Crab traps still pure luck. The next morning, his class group chat suddenly explodes. Over 999 unread messages stack up. Ho Danjin is online, complaining very loudly that she is being horribly mistreated at her own wealthy family company. Yu Bohong then moans that modern society is pitch black and miserable, while Yui asks what on earth is actually wrong with them both. Ho Danjin explains her wealthy dad forces her to work as a lowly clerk whose clueless boss grinds her with overtime. Lee Biwol tells her to just laugh it off and finally reveal her rich family name. Ho Danjin sighs that her father has other heirs and would easily discard her. Yu Bohong cuts in, muttering that at least she has a path while he slaves on a 996 schedule. Squeezed dry, Ho Danjin groans that she just wants a slow island life. By the water, free and slow. Then, of course, she tags Hong to ask what he's doing. Yu Bohong came from nothing, just like Hong, but chose the brutal city grind. Hong pushes open his wooden window, snaps a quick photo of the sea, and sends it instantly. Lee Biwol asks if he is on vacation, while Ho Danjin sends starry eyes. Yui asks if Hong has gone back home, and Hong proudly confirms that he is indeed there. Yu Bohong groans, but Yui asks if Hong is living their dream without trying. Ho Danjin retells the classic fable of the rich tourist, advising the hardworking fisherman to earn more, so that one day he can finally rest and sun himself on the beach. Only for the wise fisherman to point out that he is already doing exactly that. Then she and Yu Bohong sign off. Yui asks if Hong works at all. Hong replies that beachcombing after the tide recedes should definitely count. Yui swears in jealousy. While Lee Biwol, Xian Suman, and Dang Jiang quickly back him up, Hong reads their friendly teasing and smiles. His house is old, but his window overlooks the vast sea. The kind of view city folks pay a premium for, once he has cash. He intends to tear down this shack and build a real luxury villa facing the ocean. First, though, he must head to town to check prices on basic home appliances. As soon as he opens the front door, Haide suddenly collapses right against the other side. He springs up like a monkey, shouting out that Big Brother Hong is awake. Hong playfully kicks him in the rear. As the kid yelps, Hong warns him that a man who collapses like a corpse and leaps like a zombie deserves a hard kick. But noticing the deep dark circles under his eyes, Hong asks if he stayed up catching mice. Haide claims he is fine, but his abusive mother screamed at him yet again, blaming him for worn motorcycle tires and brutally asking why he had not just died in prison. He wanted to throw the 451 yuan in her face, but refrained, telling her instead that Hong paid 80 per trip. She just sneered scornfully, calling 80 beggar money. As he walked out, she still tried to grab it, talk about a toxic home. His heart went completely cold. He threw the cash down and drifted to Hong's doorstep, falling asleep. He wants to go to town to spend his earnings. Buying food beats family trouble. Hong lets the kid drag him to a fancy local restaurant, supposedly the best in town. But when Hong spots the stunning boss lady, he remembers the kid stared at her. He watched her yesterday. Now she rushes through the busy dinner shift already, glistening with sweat, her thin shirt outlining a striking figure, and Haide. Beside him is close to a nosebleed. There are no open seats, but Haide was so eager that Han Hyung is willing to wait. The boss lady walks over trailing cherry blossom perfume, greets Haide warmly, and offers them a private room upstairs. Han Hyung is surprised they are on such close terms. He tells her the restaurant is not small at all, since every eatery on this island is a hole in the wall, she says. On Gyoa Island, they just get by and leads them up. He takes a window seat. She points to the QR code on the table and tells them to scan to order from her. Normal in cities, but a first on their small island. Haide stammers that he does not know how, asking her to pick a few of her best dishes for Han Hyung and himself. Sweating from the awkwardness, she smiles, saying she will really just pick whatever then, and winks. His face goes red and he manages that anything is fine. After she leaves, Haide explains he was her very first opening day customer and had even helped her move cargo with no real work back then. He came every other day for egg fried rice and grew close. Han Hyung stares. This is a seafood restaurant. He says he had no money. You have to appreciate this boss lady too for not throwing him out for ordering cheap fried rice day after day. A moment later, a sweet-faced girl walks up with a tray and sets down a sea bass, where the boss lady is bold. This girl is pure with an unforced allure. She tells them her sister thought they could not finish more, so she set 3 dishes and a soup, naming pickled chili fish skin, scallion oil, clams, and dried clam and vegetable soup. Han Hyung is even more sold on the boss lady, who did not bill them with lobster on Haide's blank check, offering fair prices and sensible portions. He asks if she really is the boss lady's sister. She says everyone tells her she does not look like her sister. They really do not, but each has her own draw. She says she is helping out on summer break from school. He tells her sister set them up perfectly and to pass on their thanks. The food is genuinely good. They finish the meal with a fruit platter. His phone buzzes with Yubahong tagging him again, asking what he is doing. Eating, he replies. Hoden Jen asks what. His classmates are extraordinarily bored. He takes a slightly blurry photo of the table and sends it. Yu asks if he is kidding, asking if this is really his lunch. He tells him he is out with a friend, asking if young Master Yu looks down on a poor man's meal. Yu sends back a sandwich and yogurt with a plaza behind it, complaining his father shoved him out to hand out flyers because the company is short-staffed. Ho Danjin posts her own work meal made worse by the cheap takeout box, writing that they are living such bland little lives while Han Hyung is living the dream. Honestly, those rich second generation kids are not all that enviable. When Haide pays, the boss lady charges only 181. In the city, that is easily 250. The tide will not recede until 8 at night and rises again at midnight, so Han Hyung wants a nap. Haide heads off to the internet cafe. On the supermarket's outer wall, dozens of numbers are stuck up. Private drivers who live in town charge 30 or 41 for an 8 or 9 minute ride out to the village. He rides the electric bike home, plugging it in to charge. By the time he wakes up, it is full. When he brings the electric bike back, Gwa Shim tries to keep him for dinner. He declines, just as they leave, her little grandson wobbles over on tiny legs and slaps him on the rear. She yells at the little rascal, demanding to know what he is doing. He tells his grandma that she said herself he has great luck and should get close to him to rub some of. She quickly clasps her hands together. her blushing face turning bright red as she begs him not to listen. She wonders aloud how an aunt could even think that, though she clearly doesn't believe her own words. He reassures her that it is fine, noting he was just as mischievous back then. Leaving, he passes Wang Sobo and Li Soa, and both of the rascals stare at him strangely. Then Boa Shim approaches him with a wide, flattering smile and asks for a piece of his old clothing. She intends to place his worn clothes under her daughter-in-law's pillow, hoping to summon some good fortune since the girl's belly hasn't stirred. He is utterly stunned by the request, knowing he is no child-granting goddess. The thought of it would haunt his sleep, so he hands her a scrap of tablecloth instead. She leaves cradling the scrap like treasure. Foraging starts at 8 and Heyday rolls in from town on a squeaky second-hand bicycle, fresh from the mahjong table but right on schedule. The mudflat is far more crowded and completely pitch black. Flashlights bounce everywhere, and Heyday grumbles that they are trying to steal their catch, but his mind remains completely calm because he knows the sea belongs to everyone. Even the two aunties, who practically live at the local mahjong parlor, have joined them. The capable villagers departed long ago, and the few who stayed behind only grew lazier by the year. Some of these aunties are only 40 or 50, with husbands working off island while they gamble all day and simply ride home for more cash whenever they run dry, never once thinking to earn a living. Tonight's turnout is incredibly rare. Suddenly, old Jang spots him and shouts, prompting the entire crowd to instantly converge on him. Someone pats his shoulder and reaches for his hand. He slips away, glad they do not chase. He leads Heyday north up the long coast, right to where the sand thickens into mud. His scanning range is 20 meters now. Darkness is no hurdle, but he sighs. Because there is absolutely nothing good beneath them tonight, the system gives him sight. But not luck. If a stretch is empty, he cannot dig up what is not there. The villagers behind them are no better off, getting only cheap calories. Heyday mentions that they have walked a long way. He sighs, accepts the loss, walks back 15 meters and asks if Heyday brought the salt bottle. With no good targets tonight, he is back to old tricks. Now get this, Heyday pulls 2 large salt bottles from his pack, since on a natural mud flat anything can turn up. Heyday packs a bit of every tool, which is why his bag is so heavy. He scrapes the top layer of sand and mud aside, exposing a dense field of small holes. Heyday asks if these could be razor clams since they cluster. He aims the tip of the bottle into a hole and squeezes. The hole spits water and goes. Still, a second dose pushes the razor clam out. He drops it in the bucket. Asking if a bamboo razor clam this big counts as a razor clam king, he tells him that among wild ones that size is indeed large. Razor clams are cheap because so many are farmed. The glut keeps wild prices down. This size might retail at 41 pound 20 or 30 to Uncle Io Mao. The haul today is not equal to the last 2 days, but without the system, he would never have found them. He doses a dozen holes at once. At this high concentration, every single razor clam shoots up and he scoops each one before they can drop back. Salt leaves them whole and saves a lot of labor. Heyday clears his patch incredibly fast, earning some quick praise. The tough kid who never flinches in a brawl actually blushes. He is about to dig at random when our guy stops him, pointing south to walk 10 meters, just 10 meters out. He scrapes off the mud and tiny holes appear. He grins and says, Han Hyung is the real deal, and people seriously need to read his work, or they will never forage properly. With his system, he wants to avoid overworking. But without legendary items, he has to make up for it with sheer quantity, burning through his stamina. Luckily, this patch is loaded, and he wants it all. Crowds of villagers rush over with buckets, but they cannot just steal his sweet spot. They demand to know how he is so good when he has never foraged before. And someone grumbles that his insane luck is unfair, and they need to steal it. Their superstitious grabbing did absolutely nothing, so our guy decides to bluff them, claiming it is all from reading books, and they can do it too if they study up. Since wind, clam sizes, and wave speeds are purely scientific data, he hates the groping. Old Jang gets excited, asking what kind of books and if he can share. Our guy just smiles. The old man flushes red and cannot push any further. The village once thrived on secret crafts, and a trade was a closely guarded livelihood. Nobody gave away secrets easily. The others look at him skeptically for a moment, concluding it must be a mix of sheer luck and hard study, so they should definitely read more, while simple folk just muddle through. Meanwhile, he digs with precision. Right under their feet, Aunt Dab, the absolute queen of the local gaming parlor, suddenly loses interest in cards and drops to her knees, digging like wild. Jingu Shim asks why she is so worked up when our guy is the one doing all the heavy lifting. Aunt Dab retorts that her card losses are just bad luck making. Clamming the perfect test, the day she hits big on the mud flat is the day she returns to the card tables. Jingu Shim actually finds this logic reasonable and starts digging too. Today they pull up mostly massive razor clams with the occasional small snail. Since he needs some fresh vegetables, he sets a few aside. By noon, they head back to the village much earlier than originally planned. He does not want to wake Uncle Ohm in the dead of night, so he keeps the razor clams fresh in seawater. By morning, they weigh a whopping 60 pounds. Uncle Ohm buys them at 321 per pound. The final total is 1,920. Even under 2,000, the locals stare at him as if he were a living god, grinning like devoted followers. Seriously, these guys are desperate for some magic luck. His skin crawls. The system confirms that 1921 sale and points, totaling 3,872. Scanning. Range is now 25 meters, 1372 banked, 1128 short. He must please continue working hard. He never expected the system to start cheering him on. Back home, he transfers 1921 to Heyday. Plenty of food is left, so he calls him to eat, but the background noise is deafening, and he refuses. He hangs up uneasy. Last night his bicycle turned toward town, not home. He could hardly be sleeping in an internet cafe just to play games. Our guy stretches, planning to doze in his rocking chair when a sudden knock drags him back up. The chief is standing at his door with two identical girls. He stares, actual twins. The chief asks if he knows about the couch surfing host plan Ya Chao Chin set up. He shakes his head. Would be just like her. Heyday tells him these two are the couch surfers and he listens as they explain. The older sister, Maumi, says they are travelers who sleep on other members' sofas instead of hotels to save money, a community of mutual hosts. Hosts in turn, the embarrassed village chief explains that Ya Chan Xian listed her home as the address, but she is away and her mother refused to let two young girls in. Bringing them to his own house would start a fight. Since he is known as Ya Chan Xian's boyfriend, the chief brought them here. But he quickly points out they already broke up. The chief freezes, utterly stumped. He asks what they should do, since a typhoon is coming and trapping everyone. The young man asks about this storm, and the chief points to the latest forecast. He saw yesterday's news, predicting landfall for the day after tomorrow. But he never expected it so soon. He looks at the twins again. They look fresh out of college. Who could say no? He offers his rough living room. They quickly reply in unison. Anywhere with a roof is perfect. He opens the door wide, letting the relieved village chief off the hook. The Ma sisters drop their heavy packs, eager to wash off a long day of travel. Both girls are incredibly pretty, with the same delicate features. He tells them there is no hot water, so they must heat it themselves. The older twin politely asks for a basic electric kettle. Instead, he hands them a rapid heating rod, alongside a clean red bucket, explaining that a kettle takes far too long. This rod will heat the bucket directly. Their faces show matching confusion, asking in perfect unison if this kind of setup is even allowed. Once it actually works, they laugh and call it the ultimate working-class hack. Old habits from childhood are now seen as folk wisdom. He checks his phone. Massive Category 10.5 storm will hit Chiangzong in 5 hours. It will scrape his island first. He can only pray the worst slides past. He locks up every window as the village broadcast orders everyone back home. A storm is coming. Zhang Hide texts him and he asks if his friend returned. Zhang replies no, the cafe owner locked up and he is sheltering inside, treating the place like home. With the downstairs fully secured, he heads upstairs to catch up on sleep. His phone buzzes the exact second he lies down. His sister just sent money. He rejects it, returning 2,000. Gangpong is shocked because her brother always claimed he had cash, and now he actually does. She plans to check on him later, once he burns through his savings from Namong. Joe sits nearby, asking why she is smiling. She says her brother is finally growing up. Joe stays silent. After all, he is just a prestigious university graduate with faded prospects, but at least no longer burden. Both cash transfers sit untouched. A sudden knock pulls him right up. The elder Masomi sister stands there in a paper-thin, plunging silk nightgown, saying she wanted to tell her family she is safe, but cannot get a signal. He pulls On a tank top letting her use his upstairs connection, she slips past him. Her eyes linger on his back. Downstairs, the younger sister is pitching a tent. She wears an identical nightgown. As he passes, she pulls the hem over her. Bare legs only exposing her chest even more. Do they think he is a eunuch? He decides to sleep in his sister's old room to avoid temptation. Before he can take more than a few steps, the younger sister asks if he has any food. He offers instant noodles, but she complains they have lived on convenience food this entire trip. Fine, Gao Island rarely sees outsiders, and rumors of bad hospitality would ruin the mainland tourism office. He points to the kitchen, telling her to cook for herself. She beams instantly. Cooking is her element. She even winks while rinsing the rice, offering to feed him too. He accepts. While she cooks, he ducks out before the storm hits, walking to Giwashim's house to grab some vegetables, forcing money into her hand when she tries to refuse, warning her that if she will not take it, he will never ask again. When he returns to the kitchen with some tiny cucumbers and stunted lettuce, the elder sister laughs, then quickly apologizes. He explains that the island soil is not as rich as mainland soil. Nothing is grown with chemical fertilizers here, only farm manure, so the vegetables will never look like perfect supermarket produce. She feels incredibly shallow. She points to a green watery cube and asks what it is. Just a straggleous tofu, he says, when she objects that straggleous is a Chinese medicine. He explains that it is also a cooling and detoxifying food gathered by Giwashim this morning. One bite turns into another, and she swears it tastes better than any high-end city dessert. She calls her sister downstairs, and the two of them absolutely devour the tofu. He brings out yesterday's leftover catch, and the shellfish completely fascinate them. They name some but miss others, so he explains each one. The little hermit crabs make their eyes go starry, and they beg to take the 5 crabs home as pets. He waves them off since hermit crabs are everywhere, and Heyday gathered these anyway. Plus, the twins do not know how to cook fresh seafood, so he tells them to just boil everything. They do not believe him, but the moment they taste it, they scream that it is so fresh they could swallow their tongues, and that even their hometown's famous seafood restaurants cannot compare. He explains that wild and farmed are completely different things. Apparently, high-end suppliers keep creatures alive for days with various tricks, so fresh only means alive when cooked. The girls eat enormous portions without even realizing it. Wild seafood like this would cost thousands of yuan per plate back home. Even those stunted vegetables would be sold as luxury organic produce. This is actually the first time the twins have ever eaten this much. A single sitting. He thinks he can finally sleep, but another knock wakes him. Both Ma sisters are standing at his door clutching pillows, crying that the typhoon is terrifying. Their hometown only gets storm tales, and they just watch a tree get uprooted outside. He is totally speechless. This is only a category 10.5. If a real super typhoon had landed, they probably would have burrowed straight into his bed. Talk about high drama. Ask him to chat with them, because having a man around makes them feel safer. He follows them downstairs, and after a few sentences, he drifts off against the wall. He wakes at noon inside a tent smelling heavily of rose perfume. The elder sister, Masomi, tells him cheerfully that they carried him inside last night. His mouth twitches, not because he slept so heavily, but because they brought him into their tent. His clothes are still intact, meaning he definitely overthought it. The living room smells of cooking, she tells him. They tried online recipes instead of just boiling. There are razor clams with garlic mussels in beer, and clam vermicelli soup. Suddenly, the school group chat tags him. Again, Yubo Hong asks if he is doing okay, and Hone says the storm must have been. Things are brutal. Xian Sunmin asks if supplies are scarce, while Li Biwol asks if Anne has eaten breakfast. He posts a photo of the table, making the chat explode. Yu asks if breakfast is another seafood feast. Yubong says a homemade spread like this is something else. Hodden says the presentation matches a restaurant, while Li Biwol calculates it must cost several hundred yuan. Then Yubong notices the figures across the table and asks if those are 2 women in matching silk pajamas. Xian Sunmin asks if Han is playing it that wild. He had caught half their bodies in the frame completely by accident. Han tells the group they are just a pair of twins. Yu Hio, Li Biwol, and Yubong all immediately fire back the exact same syllable of stunned profanity in a row. Han cannot explain it cleanly. The storm turns out small. The eye misses them, passing in just one night. The yard is littered with leaves and mud. Han sweeps with a bamboo broom while the Twins come running to help, and he hauls the 2 orchid pots back outside. Hide walks through the gate, stops short at 2 strange women, and greets him. As he had told him to come at 11, and he is exactly on time. Today brings a king tide with 3 low tides. The first was lost to the storm, and the other 2 are at noon and 11 at night. They have half an hour. His gut tells him today will be good. He tells Hide to pack up the gear and bring extra water. The twins drift over to ask if they are going beachcombing. When he says yes, they declare they want to come. He asks if they should be heading back. They tell him they have not had enough fun yet and plan to leave tomorrow. His profit margin drops with 2 girls in tow, but they blink up at him with those same pitiful eyes, as if turning them down would mark him as ungrateful. He caves. Han originally planned on the mud flats, but switches to the rocky reef since it would not be right to drag girls through dirty mud. He tells them to stay close and not do anything he tells them not to. They slap their palms together and promise to obey every word. The rocky reef sits on the boundary between 2 villages and draws more pickers than the mud flats. The water is still cloudy from the storm. As they walk in, the twins both cry out. Several flamingos have come in close to the coast, fiery red bodies burning across the dull water. The twins lose their minds and demand photos. Han has only seen flamingos once before as a kid with no phone, so he pulls out his too. Hide follows. The aunties picking nearby laugh that college students get excited over a few birds. Han smiles and remarks that they say people who see flamingos get good luck. Their hands pause. They ask if that is true, and Han asks them why he would lie. People by the sea are superstitious. The moment they hear it, they pull out their phones, planning to send the photos to husbands and children. Han posts his to his moments. A few likes drop in, including one from Yachen Chan. Talk about a major vibe killer. Immediately Haden reposts the picture into the class group and asks if there are flamingos in Han's hometown. Han confirms. Haden asks for the address so he can visit. Han tells him the birds will be long gone by then. The twins ask him where the spindle sea snails are, bombarding him with questions. They ask roughly 800 simple questions a day, basically asking what is 1 plus 1. He points them out, and they finally spot the screw-shaped snails clinging in dense clusters. They are larger and more colorful than ordinary screws. The elder twin remembers 2 small hermit crabs inside shells like these and asks if those were the same thing. He tells her they were. He explains that the empty shells are actually old oyster homes, some pried open by people, others devoured by spindle sea snails and the hermit crabs. In these spindle shells had eaten the snails and moved right in. The oyster's worst enemy is actually the spindle sea snail, whose own natural predator happens to be the hermit crab. They listen, stunned, then clap and tell him he is amazing. He freezes. This is basic knowledge. Anyone by the sea would tell them the same thing. Heyday, and he pries snails off rocks into a net bag. The twins notice the net holes are too wide, letting small ones fall right through. He explains that small spindle sea snails are inedible, so filtering saves them. Sorting later, they ask if finding this many means getting rich. He points at the swarm walking the reef, pointing out that king tides draw out even villagers who never harvest. The aunties move faster than they do, and spindle snails do not fetch much per pound. Aunt Alan smiles, remarking that his mud-flat luck had been incredibly good, and that on a rocky reef where everything is visible, his luck should match theirs. He tells her again those few days were just a fluke. Then he jumps off his rock, scoops up 2 stranded turbo snails, dropping them into the bucket. Aunt Alan goes silent. Jingu Shim complains that she just walked past. How did she miss them? Old Na tells her turbo snails blend right in, matching their colors to the ground with her dead fish eyes. It would be a miracle if she ever spotted one. Jingu Shim threatens to smack him. He yelps for mercy, grabs his bucket and runs. The twins gape, asking how he can just grab sea life like that. His system scanning function had him worried it would fail on a rocky beach, but the reef does not slow it down. His eyesight keeps sharpening within a 20-meter radius. Even a turbo's camouflage cannot hide him. The elder twin peers in and asks her sister if it is not the kind their mother always has airlifted home. Good for the skin. Heyday glances sideways. Airlifted, they are not. Running a restaurant, he calls Heyday over, pointing out another rock. He follows. Other villagers see only a bare rock. Assuming he cannot see that far, they do not crowd him. The twins notice the shells here look different. Heyday sees them Clearly, they are Chinese limpets. The twins ask if these are abalone since they eat abalone often. He sips some water, explaining they look very much like abalone. Some places call them small abalone. Here they are Chinese limpets. Smaller and slower growing than proper abalone, but their cooked texture is even better. The younger twin asks the price. He says he does not know exactly, but they are worth far more than spindle snails. Wild Chinese limpets run over 101 pound conservatively and could easily fetch 200. There are giants here too at roughly the same price. Tell them there is money to make and they immediately energize. Heyday and he have only one flat shovel each, but the twins try to pry the limpets barehanded, taking off their gloves because they are awkward. Limpets are not poisonous and have no thorns, so he does not stop them. He warns them to be fast. If a limpet feels pressure, its suction disc immediately clamps onto the rock. But the twins quickly develop their own method, using the eel clamps Han Hyung gave them. They easily flick the limpets off before they react, harvesting chitons too. The elder asks if dried chitons are made from these, since her mother throws a handful into her porridge. Han Hyung almost chokes. Dried chitons cost over 1,000 a pound. With the best ones close to 2,000, that would be incredibly expensive. Porridge. When the younger sister suddenly screams, Han Hyung fears the worst, but she only spotted a sea cockroach. The entire reef is crawling with them. If those things could scare him, he would have died of fright long ago, leaving the three of them with their shellfish. Han Hyung walks to another rock. His eyes can see straight through the stone, peering into the deep crevices, and underneath, once the tide pulls out, plenty of sea creatures burrow under rocks, where strong men blindly flip boulders and weaker pickers poke clamps into cracks. Hoping for luck, Han Hyung does not guess. He pinches an octopus leg with his clamp. The creature is strong, starting a fierce contest of wits and strength, but the younger sister screams again. He almost ignores it until hearing the elder gasp that her sister is bleeding. Han Hyung quickly abandons the octopus and runs over. The cut is small but real. He squeezes the bad blood out, applying iodine to disinfect, stops the bleeding with cuttlefish powder, and finishes with a band-aid. Heyday stands right beside Han Hyung, looking deeply guilty, admitting that he should have watched the girls. Han Hyung does not blame him, though he did warn them not to grab random things. Instead of picking safe generals' hats on top, they reached underneath for worthless flower shells, the exact kind that pinches like a cowrie the moment a hand touches them. They had eel tongs but refused to use them, took off their gloves and grabbed barehanded. He cannot decide whether to call them stupid or brave. He and Heyday are thick-skinned enough that a tiny pinch would only sting briefly, but the girls have tender skin which drew blood. He asks Masomi if she wants Heyday to take her back, but she shakes her head, insisting she has not even seen a puffer fish yet. He warns her that wild puffer fish are extremely poisonous, and if she wants to eat one, she can buy farmed. She nearly tears up, protesting she never said she wanted to eat one. She just saw online bloggers polish their hiking shoes with it. Puffer fish and wants to try it. He is speechless. Was this entire trip just to polish her shoe? Talk about unexpected. Heyday is absolutely baffled too, since puffer fish are highly poisonous and never eaten, but finding one while beachcombing is easy. Han Hyung soon locates several in the puddles. For polishing, smaller puffers are better, with fewer hard spines and denser bristles. He grabs the smallest one, since they only inflate under stress. He scratches its chin, making it swell into a ball. The twins explode with excitement, demanding to know how he did that. He tosses the puffed fish over, but the moment it lands in the elder twin's hand, it deflates. He instructs her to squeeze the gills gently and scratch its chin with another finger. She does, and it swells back up, making a soft clucking sound that completely melts their hearts. She brushes her hiking shoe with it before passing it over, allowing her sister to repeat the trick. Releasing it, they declare the entire trip it was worth it for that alone, even if the stains on their shoes are not actually gone. By then, an hour and a half has slipped away, and the twins have eaten up all of his time. The octopus is long gone. Scanning the reef, he spots 2 seals and warns the girls not to wander, since a seal bite is no small bleed. As a child, he once saw someone have a finger bone crushed by one. After that, his own sister forbade him from catching them. He is grown now, but he still dreads the creature. Old fishermen catch them by hand. He does not. He slides his eel tongs into the rock hole. He tries to clamp once and misses, tries twice and misses. The thing is too slick and too strong. Scanning shows him the eel but cannot catch it. Heyday tells him As hand Hyung to clamp near the head, since locking the head means the eel cannot shake free. He clearly has more experience. It makes complete sense. Clamping the body lets a flick throw the tongs, and if its head wraps his hand is finished. After several tries, he pins the head, adds force, lifts it clear, and drops it in the bucket. He is drenched in sweat. Catching them is not easy. His tongs are treated for anti-slip, but not enough. Later, he will look online for better tool. If it cannot ship to the island, he will take the ferry over. When he brings up the second eel, the twins applaud enthusiastically. The eel, startled, bares its teeth, making him jump and almost lose his grip. Now he has two spectators who switch into cheerleaders without warning. The younger Masomi's gaze lands on a starfish, but she has learned from her sister and does not grab it. She calls him over, asking if they can catch. He glances, says he sees it, and turns away. She runs after him, saying they can catch and sell it. He explains that although starfish are eaten in some places, the ones here cannot. She blinks her watery eyes and asks why not. They simply cannot be eaten. He is a fisherman, not an encyclopedia. Reading his face, she changes her angle, asking to catch it just to play with. He tells her to go ahead. She asks if it is poisonous, and he says no. If it were, he wouldn't let her near it. She asks if it bites, so he tells her to wear gloves and avoid spines. Starfish do not actively attack. Reassured, she puts gloves on and picks it up. She does not even play with it. Before flinging it back into the sea, starfish look beautiful, and she had seen people make specimens of them, but nobody ever warned her how strongly they smell of fish. The scent is so strong that Somi nearly throws the gloves down, but knowing they belong to him makes her wash them instead. He laughs. She rounds on him, demanding to know if he is messing with her. She chases him with the gloves while he runs off holding the bucket. The villagers begin drifting back, and Aunt Jingu warns that the tide is about to rise. It catches him off guard. He and Heyday always leave early, but the girls have slowed them down today. Aunt Jingu says the window has shrunk from 4 hours to 3, and all 3 of today's tides run shorter than usual. Heyday asks gloomily if they are still clamming. He tells him there is no point. None of the 4 buckets is full. He and her sister have only a thin layer of limpets in each, but the girls are thrilled, insisting they did pretty well for a first try. Their haul is mostly snails and shellfish, but his bucket is different. 2 turbots, 7 sea eels, 5 bread crabs, and several spindle sea snails. Snails, the sisters leave their limpets and chittens with them since they cannot carry live seafood on the road. He accepts, already planning to buy dried seafood from Giwa Shim as a Gwawa Island souvenir for them. They take the haul to Uncle Iomao. He fingers his beard, observing the colorful haul at least, and runs the calculator. The general hat limpets are 120. The kittens 80, the sea eels 35. He tells him 80 for kittens seems low, but he insists fresh kittens do not sell because the processing is too much trouble. Aunt Jingu gets the same quote. The last few times he had bumped him above the rate, today there is no bump. He has clearly decided those bumps were money lost, and is also sure he will not take goods to his sister's village. Aunt Jingu tells him he is about to get rich again, eyeing those sea eels at 3 pounds each worth over 100. The 7 alone push him past 700, and the rest likely puts him over 2,000. The villagers are a generation older, and the favoritism of fortune grates on them. Aunt Jingu plans a tour of every shrine on Gwawa Island. The Dragon King, the god of wealth, the goddess of mercy, anyone who might shift her luck. He tells her he only got lucky. She half considers whether dog crap luck means she ought to go step in some. When Uncle Iomao finishes her count, he finds him tipping his already weighed seafood back into his own bucket. He tells him, isn't it a joy when friends come from afar? He ought to keep some back to feed his guests. Uncle Iomao sputters that he is keeping back too much. The girls catch on asking if he is really not selling them, and he tells them, no, they will eat. Together, they start to protest, but their family runs a business too, so they read his face and go along. Uncle Iomao thinks they will fold once the show is over and tallies the rest at 951. He holds back all the sea eels because he does not want to handle such fierce creatures, and it would not be fair to dump them on the girls. Honestly, who could have guessed his first spring tide would turn out this chaotic? Fierce operations like a tiger, and only 950 in the till. The sisters think it is a lot and are amazed he kept most of the seafood. Besides, the system speaks up, confirming 950 system points. Balance 2322, a 5-meter scanning range. Costs 2,500. The panel tells him he is still 178 short. It leaves him dizzy. This is the hardest he has worked since coming home, and he still cannot afford. The upgrade Uncle Io seizes the opening, telling him he should just sell. The good stuff, he walks off without answering. The girls light up again. Deciding he looks cool moving like that, back home, he transfers 951. To Heyday, when he tries to slip off to the internet cafe, he tells him to eat with them and rest here because they are going foraging in the middle of the night. Heyday tells him he has changed and asks if the pressure really is that bad. Once there is a woman in the house, he wants to peel him for that. It is the spring tide, not the girls. Somi comes out asking how to deal with the sea eels. He slaps his forehead, forgetting how miserable they are to clean. When his parents were around, Mother always said sea eels were a nightmare and would set him and his sister to washing them. His sister once sobbed that no matter how good sea eel tasted, she would never eat it again. He tells Somi to leave those sea eels alone. She points out a new problem. Even if they forage at night, they still have to sell to Uncle Io. He asks if she remembers the number they wrote down. Gang calls a seafood buyer in town, but the moment the man hears he is calling from Hagang village, he refuses, saying to give everything to Uncle Mao instead. He just passes them up. Suddenly, this entire corrupt monopoly makes complete sense. Every local harvest funnels to one town buyer, and Uncle Mao is their middleman. No wonder Uncle Mao's family makes money without even owning a boat. Uncle Mao is just a greedy middleman. Heyday panics, but Gang stays completely calm. After all, no real man lets himself get cornered like this. Gang asks about the seafood restaurant where his friend always eats. Does that place buy fresh catch? Heyday has no idea. He just shakes his head, admitting that whenever he eats there, he is way too busy staring at the pretty boss lady. He does not even have her phone number. But just as Gang is about to lose all patience, Heyday suddenly remembers an online account. Gang searches the name, and sure enough, the restaurant's official page pops right up. Following the account triggers an automated greeting with a sweet voice offering standard promotions. It details a group meal discount expiring before the 15th of the month. Clearly, the sweet and bubbly tone was written by the boss lady's younger sister. Gang quickly taps the contact button and dials the phone number displayed on screen. A very pleasant voice answers immediately, and Gang recognizes her tone right away. He asks for her sister, but she is curious how he knows her. He reminds her they ate there recently. She instantly remembers Heyday's friend. Apparently, Heyday has been visiting quite often, so Gang politely introduces himself. She introduces herself as Manguk, explaining she handles most of the daily business calls. Gang asks if their restaurant only buys high-quality seafood while strictly refusing cheap, substandard goods. He inquires about the current rates for seals and General's hat shellfish, prompting her to check. General's hat goes for $180, while seal goes for $150 for premium quality. The price gap is enormous, almost retail level. This changes absolutely everything for him. He could make an extra 100 yuan on just those 7 seals alone, using her rates. Gang promises Manguk that they will save their absolute best catch for her restaurant. She laughs and gladly accepts his offer. Finally, some real business progress. These sisters are honest business partners, unlike that incredibly greedy and manipulative Uncle Mao. Mao's old monopoly is officially dead in this rapidly evolving modern market. Reputation is everything now. Suddenly, a neighbor named Giwa Shim walks right in. She hands him 2 fresh eggs, worth 3.5 yuan each. He desperately wants to crack them open and swallow them raw, but carries them inside instead. He hands them to Somi in the kitchen, who wonders why they are so warm. She asks if the sun spoiled them, but Gang explains they are fresh. Somi blinks in absolute disbelief and quickly calls her sister over to see. Both girls are completely amazed by how incredibly fresh the warm eggs are. As Giwa Shim happily leaves, greedy Uncle Mao intercepts her at the gate. He asks what Gang is cooking and if they are eating well. She casually boasts about the delicious steamed turbo and fresh bread crab inside. Stunned by this lavish menu, Uncle Mao immediately marches right into the house. He spots the rich spread alongside a fresh bowl of hot bamboo shoot soup. Seeing such expensive seafood being eaten casually makes Uncle Mao's heart bleed with envy. Gang calmly offers him a smoke and tells Heyday to light it for them. But Heyday awkwardly checks his pockets, admitting that his pack is completely empty. That is a shame, Uncle Emma. He does not smoke either. The man realizes they are playing him, asking if he is selling the rest. Gritting his teeth, he offers 5, one more each. For the general's hat and sea squirts, he adds 2 more for bread crab and turbot, 1 more for spindle sea snails, all higher than what he gave Aunt Jingu. He chuckles and says there are 4 of them. This is hardly enough for 1 meal. And if there is anything left, he can send it to his sisters for his 2 nieces. His beard bristles, he explodes, yelling that all the young man knows is how to eat. At his age, he should be saving instead of squandering, saying his parents would be heartbroken. He goes silent. He tells the uncle quietly that he is not his parent and has no right to say whether they would be proud of him. The uncle shivers without knowing why, only that his tone has gone cold, pretty terrifying, honestly. The uncle walks out spitting, muttering that he eats all the good stuff. Breakfast was past 10 and lunch lands close to 4. After lunch, he drags Heyday into a nap. They wake at 9. The sisters have cooked dinner. They eat. By 10, the sisters are asleep while Heyday and he pack their gear and slip out. He asks if they are heading back to the rocky reef. He looks up at a moonless, starless night, telling him the reef is complicated even by day. They should head further out to the force sluice gate. Heyday wants to ride the bicycle and offers him a lift, but the back feels strange, so he ends up running. By the time they reach the gate, he is exhausted. The force sluice gate sits at the mouth of the Guoa River and controls its water level. It is technically beyond Hogging Village, but the sea belongs to everyone. He picked it because the ground is flat and he wants to see what turns up where brackish and fresh waters converge. At the sandy stretch, he sees the telltale dimples in the wet sand, sea urchins, the burrowing kind. He doesn't know the exact price, but he knows they are valuable and wild ones grown rare. As farm stock floods the market, he digs one up. Aday's voice cracks, asking if this is a sea urchin. He tells him yes, and Aday announces they are about to get rich. He tells him he will dig this patch himself, and Aday should look elsewhere. His scanning range is still only 20 meters, and beyond the sea urchins, the only nearby things are a few mud crabs, which nobody eats here. The big cities keep them as ornamental crabs, like hermit crabs. Watching him about to dig at random with no clue where to start, he sends him to the gate. The typhoon water has been cut, the tide is out, the gate is shallow and a large stretch has been concreted over, so his scanning advantage will not show much there, and he can manage on his own. He gets to work. A light flashes. Another headlamp foraging not far away. They are not the only ones tonight. It is his first time digging sea urchins, and after only a few, he is tired. He switches from sand shovel to spade, which is easier and lets him see exactly where each one is with no risk of breaking one. After 60 or 70, his arms ache. He rests a few dozen more and then stops. Sea urchins live in the sandy soil, permanently surfacing at high tide, burrowing at low. Wild ones are vanishing everywhere, and he is afraid digging every last one would invite divine wrath. With other foragers around, he covers the bucket with cloth because if word of this spot gets out, the sea urchins here will go extinct too. On the way to the gate, he catches a mud crab and ties its claws right away. At the gate, the headlamp man turns out to be Old Jang. He lights a cheap local. Old Jang lights a cigarette, chuckling that even the young ones are finally staying diligent. When the old man reaches to share, Heyday pushes his hand back and offers his own. After spending a few days with our protagonist, Heyday's cigarettes have moved upscale. Old Jang takes one and peeks at Heyday's bucket. It is nearly full, but it is only stuffed with worthless river snails, making the elder look smug. He claims the young still lack experience, though he hasn't found much, he boasts. With 2 massive mud crabs weighing 2 pounds each, they are worth hundreds. Thinking he's struck it rich, he reaches for the cloth on our protagonist's bucket, who picks up a mud crab. He tosses it inside, making Old Jang yank his hand back, gasping that it weighs 3 pounds. The elder reasons that he still has 2, while our protagonist has only 1, until another drops in. These are just as heavy. He asks where they came from, getting a casual answer. They just crawled past his feet, but Old Jang insists that is completely impossible. The protagonist smiles, joking his eyes are younger. Old Jang flares up, spotting a crab. Before he can grab it, Heyday swoops in with his tongs, leaving Old Jang stiff. Heyday kindly asks if his back is acting up, but the old man protests loudly. Insisting he is perfectly fine, he tags along anyway, planning to ride their luck. While the elder looks away, our protagonist quietly transfers the crabs into Heyday's bucket. They aren't tied up yet. They could easily pinch the delicate sea urchins inside. Old Jang wades through the shallow water, picking up worthless clams and tiny shrimp. Then he spots the young man already lifting a rare sea urchin with his tongs. He blurts out in total shock, wondering how sea urchins could even be here. Having just passed this exact spot and seen nothing, he watches another get pulled up. The protagonist tells him it is normal as they cling to hidden dam recesses. Ordinary eyes would slide right past them, but his scanner system makes them stand out. With his infinite scanning system, he spots them instantly and scoops up 7 or 8. Heyday manages to grab 2, and before old Jang even wades over, 5 more are caught. The very last one is pure white, prompting Heyday to ask if it is poisonous. Most sea urchins are black, and this stunning pale mutant is incredibly striking to look at. Beautiful but deadly, the old saying suddenly makes perfect sense. Seeing a white one for the first time, he assures them it shouldn't be poisonous. He knows some crabs undergo a rare mutation that leaves them lacking astaxanthin. Wondering if white sea urchins experience the same thing, he watches old Jang glance over. The old man tells them it is safe, but claims the price is nothing special. The protagonist's eyes light up with curiosity, while Heyday hands over another cigarette. Old Jang takes a long puff, feeling grand, and says Old Na found one once. He thought he struck gold 2 years ago, but Uncle Mao crushed those hopes. Uncle Mao ruled it was edible, but paid only the standard price. It is tough. The young man knows old Jang isn't lying, but this is not Uncle Mao's call. Town buyers won't take individual goods, and going to other villages breaks the rules. With Uncle Mao's absolute monopoly, the price is whatever he says. Old Jang hurries over to the spot they just cleared and feels around frantically. But it is completely cleaned out. As the incoming tide rises, he scoops small shrimp. One scoop of old Jang's net brings 2 or 3, but his pulls 10. From the exact same spot, he pulls 10, leaving the elder completely bewildered. He simply warns him the tide is coming in, then clamps a bread crab by his feet. Hand's mouth twitches. What kind of crazy, insane luck is this? By the time they get home, it is 3 in the morning. How and Gray opens at 8. He sets the alarm for. When they wake, the sisters are already up. Somi, completely ignoring the induction. Cooker wants to mess with his wood-fired stove. He tells her he is saving that firewood for power outages. If she burns it now, he will not cook next. Time the lights go out, she asks if it happens often. He says yes, more often. Then in the big cities, since this small island has scarce energy, she immediately stops. The sisters spot more seafood in the pool and ask why he did not take them, but if they had come, finding everything would have been impossible. He tells them they were sleeping soundly and he could not bear to wake them. They are touched, deciding Han is a good man who can earn money and care for the women in his life, and they dive into breakfast. The result is a bowl of handmade seafood noodles each, loaded with a free-range egg, clam meat, and mixed shrimp from the night run. A bowl like this in the city costs $70 or $80. Checking the time, it is 10 to 8. Just as he goes to call a ride, the sisters appear. With backpacks, identical faces smiling, suggesting they travel together. His private car pulls up at his gate and honks. Somi tells him, winking, that this is the same driver who brought them, whom she called while they were busy cooking. They wanted to stay longer, but their itinerary was fixed. They belong to a couchsurfing community and have booked stays at set times. Han thinks they are sharp when it counts, saving him the trouble of booking a ride. He scoops the seafood he needs to sell out of the pool, and the 4 of them climb in. The sisters need to transfer in town to reach the port. They get off at the same stop. Mang Bi has opened early, and Manguk spots them, waving and greeting Hade and his friends, surprised they actually brought seafood. Han is not sure how to take that. She sees his deflated expression and bursts out laughing before giving a polite, formal welcome to gang. Han, he asks if she remembers him. She smiles sweetly, telling him of course she remembers yesterday, adding that she even saved his number. Under a special name, she leans over their 3 buckets. One holds tide crabs with shellfish and snails, another holds chitons and sea urchins, the last is covered with cloth. When she asks to open it, Han nods, explaining these are for her, but requests that she keep the contents of this bucket completely secret. She glances at him, surprised by the mystery, but promises to stay quiet, reassuring him nobody will say a word. Then sudden excitement takes over. Her hand holding the cloth trembles slightly, as if she were opening a mystery box. When she lifts the cover, she freezes, asking if these are actually wild sea urchins. Manguk asks if they are farmed, which is fair since wild ones are vanishingly rare. Mang Bi steps out of the back kitchen, takes one look, and declares them wild. She cannot believe they found such good stuff. Jin Haid rubs his head and mutters that Han Hyung found everything. He claims he was just the helper, but Han claps his shoulder, saying he relied on his help and could never have hauled this alone. Mang B's opinion of him visibly shifts. The lazy slacker label fades now that she has watched him work inspecting the goods. She sees the chitons sorted perfectly by size. She glances at the catch. She will take the larger portion but hesitates on the small. Her restaurant only opened recently, yet its reputation has already crossed the water. People take the ferry just to eat here, since only top-quality food lands on her plates. He asks her to clean the small portion for a fee, but she waves him off. She has all the right tools. He can take the meat home already cleaned. The Ma sisters wait nearby to watch what his goods actually pull in. Mangai weighs while Manguk records 5 pounds 2 ounces of chitons make 781, 3 bread crabs at 5 pounds. Of sea urchins 36.98. He asks her to repeat that. He is convinced he misheard. Manguk turns her ledger toward him. The price is 861 per pound. She asks if he doubts their scale. He scrambles to explain he is only surprised. She laughs that wild ones command this price now. The Ma sisters look like a few sea creatures just sold for the price of a phone. Mangai moves too. Mud crabs all tied up so the claws cannot snap. The market counts rope as weight, but his is conspicuously light. She notes he is not the kind to cut corners. 4 mud crabs at 11.8 pounds bring 1851. 7 pounds of river snails make 20. 8 pounds of Asiatic clams, another 20. 5 pounds of mud snails bring 92. The mud snails surprise him. He remembers them going for 3 to 5 a pound when he was a kid. To him, they had always been worthless backwater food. Then she reaches the sea urchins, each one plump. She suddenly freezes when she pulls out a long-spined white one. Mangai says white sea urchin in a tone that strips the air from the room. Manguk claps a hand over her mouth. The Ma sisters ask what is special about a white one. Manguk tells them an old fisherman could spend a lifetime by the sea and never see one in 10,000. Both sisters are completely speechless. Mangai looks at them with new respect, as if she cannot settle on what to say to people carrying something this valuable while remaining this incredibly calm. Gang Han keeps his face still. Jenning Hide, simple as ever, asks Mangai whether it is poisonous and if it can be sold. Her expression cycles through several shapes. Of course it can. Jenning Hide visibly relaxes. She will weigh the ordinary urchins first. This white one is far beyond what her restaurant can afford. She needs to contact a buyer through her own channels to earn a commission off the difference. Gang Han tells her he has no reservations, leaving it in her hands. He asks her to just call him Gang Han, not Mr. The ordinary urchins make 25.81. The whole haul lands at 61.51. Talk about shock. The Ma sisters look ready to fall over. Their parents run businesses too, earning plenty of money but getting white hair early, fearing competitors and slacking employees. They look at him and see a life that actually breathes. Mangai transfers the money. She thought his QR code was for contacts, but finds it was a payment code. She sends 61.51 exactly, not a coin off. The system pings sold that much. He gained system points to add to his prior ones. His total stands at 84.73. Spending 7,500 extends his infinite scanning range by 15 meters. He confirms it jumps to 35 meters with 973 points left. He glances through the warehouse window, reading fine print. Billboard 30 meters away like it is on his palm. Turning back, Mangai has just thumped Manguk's head for not rounding up the payment. Manguk asks with a face of pure innocence how exactly she was supposed to round and whether she should have. She shorted him a coin. Mangai gives up, apologizing for the performance behind her. Manguk sticks her tongue out at him. He tells Mangai her sister did a beautiful, amazing job, insisting he benefited. If he had to clean those chitons himself, he would never eat them. Right at the entrance, the younger Masomi suddenly hugs him, saying she is the one with the small mole near her eye, so he had better remember her. He spots the mole, confirms it, and watches them wave goodbye, and he is secretly glad they are leaving. Having 2 young female guests in this village always stirs up rumors. He considered staying in town, but logistics came first. The new water heater and washing machine arrived tomorrow morning. He rounds Jang Hei's pay up to 7,001. No clam digging today because working to death leaves you with absolutely nobody to blame. Jang protests, but he insists he take it. He kept plenty of seafood for them. Leaving Jang at the cafe, he rides his bicycle Home Jang's eyebrows practically shoot off his face. Right then, another call comes in. Someone from the next village wants a fight for just 101. He spits that risking his life for 100 is a joke and hangs up. Han Hyung was right. And get this, he rolls back to find Boshim stomping a pile of dog droppings right into her shoe with absolute conviction. Lee Shimja shoves her aside. To take a turn, Jingu Shim suggests feeding Baku more to increase production. Old Jang adds they should rally every single dog. None of them have any idea how much he hauled with a single net sweep. They are acting like this because he mentioned good luck. The real reason is he could see exactly where everything was while mud stirred up by the massive typhoon made everyone else swing completely blind. He drifts past. Nobody notices. At the house, his sister Gangpong is already there, coming to wash his clothes, but she is shocked to find everything already cleaned and hanging in the courtyard. She sighs that her little brother does not need her anymore. He tells her flatly that the old fortune teller predicted she would live a life of toil, and she chased him from one end of the village to the other. It is pretty rich to mourn the loss of it now. She concedes she was overthinking, and that it is great he has grown up. She's about to leave when he stops her, handing over several bags. She finds the chitons cleaned and asks how, knowing he never liked cleaning them either. He tells her not to ask. The meat is fresh and her kids should eat it. Her eyes immediately well up. He also harvested river snails and Asiatic clams from the pond. Her own village sits even further from the freshwater river than his. He pushes those at her as well, which breaks her. Tears flow, giving him a headache. Women really do seem made of water. Crying when sad or glad. Suddenly a horn honks outside, followed by a knock. A sturdy middle-aged deliverman asks if this is his house. Before Gangpong can process the question, he tells him to set the units in the bathroom. His sister built it when she came back from her city job. Before that, there had been no toilet at all. He unloads the units, says installers will arrive in 2 days, and leaves. The noisy villagers gather outside. They fuss over the washing machine and water heater, wondering if his university degree is going to waste. Gangpong snaps that it is none of their business and slams the door. She turns to look at the new appliances, half pleased and half worried. She had wanted to buy their family things like this years ago, but after having a husband and children, her spending money dried up. She asks if he has money left. He reassures her that these items are absolutely nothing and that he is going much. He decides not to brag. She clearly trusts him, telling him to come to her if he runs out. After she leaves, he showers and sleeps until the phone wakes him. Soon, installers arrive and he cooks noodles while they work. The new water heater and washing machine on the wall feel like real milestones. Then a strange contact request pops up. The user handle is a joke reading Yabai lol. He rejects it since scammers spoof contacts all the time. The request comes through again immediately, this time labeled Manguk. He stares for a moment, realizing the joke handle was hers all along, and finally accepts. She messages asking why he rejected her. He finds it pretty hard to answer. She was just teasing him. She tells him her sister sold his goods, followed by a transfer for 28,000. He asks if she accidentally added 2 extra zeros. The black ones were 10 apiece and the white one tops out at 280. She insists it is correct. He sends only a blank message. This insane figure does not feel real. Suddenly, she calls him. She confirms the urchin actually sold for 28,000. Rich buyers pay whatever they want because there is no fixed market price for something this rare. He asks what kind of idiot paid that, or rather, what kind of angel. She says she thought the price was low. She admits she has never eaten one, but heard the taste is pretty ordinary. He thanks her warmly. Selling them to the Io Mao gang would have only gotten him 10 per piece. She tells him not to mention it since they made a 10% commission. Counting his prior savings, he now has over 30,000, the richest moment of his life. System chimes, adding 28,000 points, totaling 28,973. He can spend 27,500 for a 55-meter range upgrade, confirming the jump to 90 meters. Left with 1473, he transfers Jang Heyday 2800. He calls him dizzy, asking if he transferred to the wrong person or if he added an extra zero. He marvels that his friend is even more imaginative than him. Someone in his game keeps trying to drag him back to voice chat. He proudly tells them he is rich now and needs to calm down. At dawn, the villagers look at him strangely. The aunties scuttle away as if from a monster. Boa Shim clutches her clothes. Tight Giwashim finally stammers, telling him that rumors claim he took in those girls not out of kindness, but to take advantage of them, making them leave. Crying, his brain completely stalls. The scumbag she describes has nothing to do with him. He presses her again. She finally grits her teeth, revealing they claim he might have gotten both girls pregnant. He is genuinely speechless. The Ma sisters spent only 2 nights at his house. How could anyone tell pregnancy that fast? Yuashim starts to ask if he really did it, but he just smiles widely and tells her that if they say he did, and if not, then not, as long as everyone is happy. The moment he steps past her gate, he hears shouting at his own door. There is his sister wielding a broom, screaming curses at Lei Shimja and Boa Shim. He rushes over, dragging her back inside, telling her not to get involved. She fumes, completely unable to listen to them talk about her brother. That way her face flushed scarlet. He drags out their only electric fan, aiming it at her while pouring some water, telling her that people can say whatever they want and he will not lose sleep over their gossip. She softens, conceding he is completely right since they have heard plenty over the years. She notices the newly installed appliances. Envy flickers. She remarks that even though he did not stay in the city, his life is finally getting better, and that is what matters most of all. As she leaves, he ducks into the village shop to buy a box of wajaha for Lingling and Wan. She scolds him that he got them Barbie dolls last time. Buying study sheets is out of the question. His mouth twitches. If he brings those girls study sheets, they will hate him forever. Once she departs, he rides his bicycle into town. Cola is sold out, so he grabs another box of wajaha. Jang Hide asks why wajaha. He asks what else to use to wash his hair. Rubbing his bald head, Jang Hide admits he just towels it dry. He hands him a fresh bottle. The first sip carries the man away by taste alone. He pulls a chair next to him, offering to join. Jang Hide asks if a college student can actually play. He always looks too busy with studies. He admits he was not worried about being carried, but rather feared Han Hyung losing horribly and bruising his pride. He shows him quickly what the skill of a top university student looks like, unfamiliar with the controls at first, but leaving the lobby, his stomach growls twice before he notices the clock. They head to the restaurant, and that is when he realizes the cafe sits right behind the restaurant. Jang Hide's eyes lock onto Mang B the moment they step inside. He suspects this is why he never goes home. Manguk skips over, calling him boss. He almost chokes while she smiles. Sweet as sugar. He sold such an expensive sea urchin, so why would he not be a boss? She offers to order, jokingly suggesting a giant lobster. He tells her sure, his treat. Jang Hide's brow knots. That single plate costs over 1,000. Manguk laughs, claiming she was just kidding, but he tells her to bring it. This rumor cycle has reminded him to treat himself better. She stops arguing. She was the one who sent him 28,000 this morning. She also orders stir-fried squid, fresh shrimp soup, and a cold cucumber salad. When she brings a cucumber, he asks whether they process catch and if he can bring his own seafood for them to cook. She fetches a clear price list. The rates are straightforward. 6 methods are itemized per category. Bowling is 5 yuan for servings up to 2 pounds. Spicy stir-fry and steaming cost 10. Sauce explosions and scallion mixes are 20. Oil splashed is 25. A tourist could walk in without fearing being skinned. He points at the lobster and king crab section, asking what one-way, two-way, and three-way options mean. Manguk reads the fine print. One-way is one method on the entire creature. Two-way splits into garlic body and porridge head. Three-way adds a third heart steamed with egg at 150. Processing 3 seafood types comes to almost nothing. Sea urchin steamed egg is 10 a serving. He asks whether she can store seafood for him when he brings more than he can finish. She covers her mouth. Of course not for just anyone, but he is different. He teases back, asking how. She chokes on the return volley, muttering they have a strategic partnership, then bolts. Jang Hide blinks at her exit and wonders aloud whether Mang B's little sister is always this chatty. After the discount, the bill is 1,200. After dinner, noticing his hair has grown out, he crosses to the barber's shop opposite for a standard crew cut. On the way out, he bumps into Manguk, seeing off a customer. Her face goes pink and she ducks back inside. They drop back into the cafe for another round. When they leave, the vehicle shop is somehow still open. Ga Island has no car dealership, just bicycles, electric bikes, motorcycles, and the small agricultural tricycles farmers use. He cannot keep riding Jang Hide's His worn-out bike will not cut it for running to town to sell goods, an electric tricycle that carries cargo and people is the practical option. Things on this island are expensive, but after haggling, he gets it for 5,300. By the time he drives it back, the night is deep. Once he lies down, he cannot sleep. The eel clamp slipped on him several times while catching octopus. He pulls up his phone for better ones. He settles on rubber anti-slip clamps at 61 each. 2. The seller recommends a lighter clamp on the side for cowries and sea cucumbers. The light ones are 15 each. He takes 2 more. They only deliver to the district port from his place. The coastal port is 3 hours by boat. The district port is only about 40 minutes away. The district is the rough equivalent of a county and is better equipped than town. Since he is going anyway, he scrolls the rest of the store. He adds a few crab traps. Even in the closed season, nobody minds small private ones. He adds 2 simple fishing rods, seeing some cheap children's rods. He grabs 2 of those for his sister's kids. He is about to set the phone down when Manguk messages him. It is a photo of him riding the tricycle, captured without his knowledge. He thanks her and tosses the phone aside to sleep. On the other end, she is briefly stunned, wondering if he really did not realize how ridiculous he looked on that dusty, rustic tricycle. Her sister said he was a top school graduate. Maybe they all think this way. He sleeps until noon and wakes to a message from Jen Hide, asking if he is gathering seafood today. Checking his tide app, he sees he missed the first low tide. He tells him to meet up by 5:45 for the evening run. Meanwhile, the rumors have intensified. Latest claims he peeked at 2 girls bathing. Old Jang stands grinning with a cigarette, asking how their figures looked while drawing curves in the air. He shoots back that of course they looked good. You can read Masomi and her sister's figures right through their clothes. Why would he need them naked? The aunties spit and grumble that all his studying went to the dogs. He ignores them and goes home to scroll his phone. Outside, Kyan Chan's mother is wedged among a knot of women, soaking up every ridiculous rumor. Talk about a toxic neighborhood, right? Would die of fury all over again. He only wants to stay and play fisherman after buying home appliances. The longer she listens, the more convinced she is that he is beyond saving. She goes home and calls Kyan Chan to say she broke up with him at exactly the right time. Kyan Chan is eating instant noodles in her dorm. Since the breakup, nobody sends her pocket money. 600 a month is not enough. If only he had begged harder, she could have strung him along until her master's degree was done. Her mother tells her about the 2 couch surfers who ended up at his place, whom he supposedly bullied and got pregnant. Kyan Chan is stunned. He had always seemed so proper. Her mother had also mentioned he was pulling in real money, none of which lands in her account. Furious, she pulls Masomi's number from her circle. Masomi picks up only out of politeness. Kyan Chan launches into a speech about being deeply concerned about girls standing together and using the weapon of law. Masomi asks what she is even talking about. Kyan Chan plays sympathetic, telling her not to deny it because everyone knows he bullied both sisters and both are pregnant. Masomi's temper snaps. Is Kyan Chan's brain waterlogged? No one can tell a pregnancy from just a few days under one. Having no common sense is her mother's fault. She hangs up on Xian Chan. Xian Chan tries calling back but finds she is blacklisted, nearly throwing her phone. But she remembers she cannot afford a new one. When Zheng Heide arrives, he is already packing. He tells him they are heading to Gyamsa Beach, the closest spot, famous for having nothing but kids playing in the sand. Halfway through the village, they spot 2 identical beautiful figures handing pear paste candy to children on the drying ground. As the aunties and uncles crowd around, one asks if the sisters were really not bullied. They smile and ask whether they look like it. The rumor self-destructs under its own weight. The sisters see them and wave enthusiastically. The aunties are not bad at heart, just loose-tongued. Knowing they wronged him, they raid their gardens and pile fresh produce in his courtyard. He asks the sisters if they were not supposed to be in Busan. Masomi says they went and the candies came from there. Her sister sounds put out and asks why he did not look for them. One explanation would have cleared everything. He says village rumors blow over in days. She spots their gear and asks if they are beachcombing, demanding to come along. He agrees since they came on his count. The moment they arrive, both sisters exclaim and ask why he never brought them here. Honestly, he feels wronged. The villagers barely even used the place. What he did not expect was finding Sobo and Lizo already there. They Remember the day he pulled zebra mantis shrimp out of the sand right in front of them. They read his eyes as mocking, so they huddle their buckets and drift down the sand. The day is hot and the sisters slip off shoes and socks, two large white birds glide in. Masomi cries out at how huge and white they are. He tells her they are great egrets common along the coast. Her sister explains their bed sheets have flamingo prints. Masomi shouts again, spotting a fingernail-sized crab crawling across her foot. It is a fiddler crab, and she asks why one claw is huge and the other tiny. He tells her that is how they are, asking if they like crab paste. They light up, recalling their father once bringing a jar back when they were young. It was the most delicious thing they had ever eaten, unmatched since. Masomi asks if he can make it. He shakes his head, explaining there are many methods and he has tried none. Honestly, the secret is always the ingredient, and these fiddler crabs are the most suitable kind. Masomi reaches for one, but it burrows the instant her hand nears. Catching crabs is too much for city girls. Crabs forget about it. Sweeping his widened scan, he finds this stretch hides a great deal of yugho shrimp. He hands his mantis shrimp pump to one sister and has Jang Haede give his to the other. He scrapes the surface to expose air holes and explains the pump. They pick it up instantly. Masomi pumps and a yugho shrimp comes up. She shouts mantis shrimp, but he clarifies it is just a yugho shrimp, smaller than a true mantis shrimp. She asks if every air hole hides a shrimp. He almost gives himself away, then says probably. Watch how he deflects, telling them to keep pumping while they chase fiddler crabs. The sisters realize he is handing them the easier job, patting their chests and swearing to complete the mission. Fiddler crab is the absolute best paste ingredient at 20 or 31 a pound, but they are so tiny that pulling together even a pound is hard. Jang Haede catches by experience chasing escapees. He works differently, letting his scan sweep the sand. His gloved hand darts straight to each spot. Jang Haede only has 6 while he has nearly 20. The man admires him, saying some talent is just innate, which explains why he never seems to work hard but always ranks at the very top. Meanwhile, the sisters finish their patch and Masomi comes over to find him. He shovels a new spot as she leans closer and asks him to guess who she is. He looks at the small, striking black mole near the corner of her eye and calls her Masomi. She claps, celebrating that he finally remembered. Her sister remarks that with skills like his, he has no need to work in the city, since men without that office stink are always freer. He smiles and admits that maybe he really is better suited to be a fisherman. His phone buzzes. Yubahong tags him, telling the overworked corporate slaves grinding 96 hours week to witness his peaceful island life. Ho Danjin agrees, noting they haven't heard from him in 2 days. He sends a photo of the sunless, burning red sky across the beach where the sand glows golden alongside the egrets and the sisters exquisite backs. The chat falls silent, each of them realizing he is living way too well. Once he gathers more than enough crabs for paste, he decides to stop and calls Jang Haede over to dig Yugo shrimp by hand. Jang would normally never blindly stick his hand into a random hole, but seeing him do it, he follows. Soon, everyone pulls up a massive shrimp with nothing dangerous inside. The sisters help out immensely, filling both buckets to the brim. He wants to run home for 2 more buckets, but turning around, he spots Wang Sobo and Li Soa crying. He asks what is wrong, and they sob, calling him a big bully. Just look at their tiny buckets. They have barely 8 crabs, while his are completely overflowing. He understands, too heartbroken to even guard their tools. They let him take their shovel. 2 meters away, he scrapes the sand to expose a cluster of air holes and walks off. 2 They're surprised. They dig up premium white clams that sell to Uncle Wu at 21 pound. Their mothers will surely cook them a delicious white clam and melon soup. Seeing him return with 2 empty buckets, the kids decide he is actually all right. After all, he marks out more spots before the tide turns, and all 4 of his largest buckets overflow, totaling nearly 200 pounds. Today's take is worth around 10,000. Back home, he finds a mountain of fresh vegetables and eggs in the courtyard. The very same gossiping aunties who once criticized him are now leaving peace offerings. He packs everything away, releases the Yugo shrimp into the pond, and asks the sisters to clean the fiddler crabs to guarantee the perfect flavor. He calls Zhang Peng for the key recipe steps. She decides this is too complex to explain over the phone and rides her bicycle straight over. Finding 2 beautiful city girls focused on making paste using their phones, she finds the scene adorable. She takes charge while they observe, wanting to thank them for Clearing his name, she crushes the clean crabs in a traditional stone mortar, layering them in. A jar with salt, carefully placing the large claws on top before sealing it tight. In 15 days they can eat. Mommy films as her sister takes notes. Jiang Peng remembers they have a long trip ahead, making a heavy jar difficult to carry. He suggests mailing it home from the coastal port tomorrow. The sisters decide he really did graduate from a prestigious university. They have far more crabs than a single jar requires, so he hands the rest to Jiang Peng alongside 5 pounds of Yugo shrimp. She stares at the pool of shrimp completely wide-eyed. She figured he got lucky once or twice, but never imagined he would return with such a massive haul every single time. That is pure, undeniable skill. She says her parents are watching from heaven, promising him some finished paste. Meanwhile, Zhang Haida heads to the internet cafe, as it is already 11 at night. It is too late to sell shrimp at Hong Gray, leaving that trip for tomorrow. He just finishes washing up when Ma Somi knocks, wearing a white silk nightgown. He assumes she wants to call her family, so he starts offering her his room. She stops him to ask if Kian Shan is really his girlfriend, but he corrects her. Seeing her gossipy face, he sighs and explains Kian Shan got into a master's program. She looked down on him and broke things off, but Ma Somi calls her short-sighted. She claims Kian Shan was never worthy anyway, and he laughs, saying he has moved on. He stopped caring long ago, but Ma Somi reveals she actually reported his ex. The ex is banned now, leaving Gaia Island without a host, so she offers him the job. He shrugs, saying it is just about giving travelers a simple place to sleep. She is surprised he agreed so easily, calling him a genuinely good person. After promising to register him, she warns him not to feed future guests so generously. He insists it is fine since they shared their foraged food and even cooked for him. She smiles, saying that meeting him made this the happiest part of their journey. At dawn, they all prepare to head out together, unlike their quiet arrival. Before, they hid inside a private car, leaving the villagers completely in the dark. This time, the sisters sit openly in his new three-wheeler, rolling along. Waving goodbye to the gossips, they scatter candy to the kids. Seeing them leave so joyfully, the villagers can no longer speak ill of him. At Home Gray Restaurant, they weigh the buckets of fresh seafood. Subtracting 5 pounds for Gangpong and 5 for himself, 202 pounds remain. At 731 a pound, the total reaches over 14,000. Manguk hands him 14,800, making her sister raise an eyebrow. After teasing about rounding up, Manguk sticks her tongue out as the system pings. The sale grants him matching system points, totaling 16,273. He buys a 30-meter scan upgrade for 15,000 points, instantly expanding his reach. With 120 meters unlocked, Ma Somi calls him amazing. Both sisters stare with starry eyes, and honestly, who wouldn't be impressed by this cash? They previously chalked his 6,000 payout up to pure springtide luck. Even wealthy second-generation heirs cannot match what he earns all by himself. Ma Somi asks him honestly how much he made from the white sea urchin. When he reveals it was 28,000, she gasps, calling luck a true strength. If Kian Shan knew his current earnings, she would be completely green with envy. He calmly replies that since they are done, her regrets mean absolutely nothing to him. As the sisters call a car for the port, Ma Somi sends him the couch surfer application. He carefully fills out every single field on the sheet, noting his special requirements. He allows standard cats and dogs, but bans exotic pets to avoid any strange tastes. Looking up, he notices Manguk watching him with a very playful expression. When asked why she is staring, she teases that he seems quite popular with girls. He playfully asks if that includes her, making her freeze and quickly make an excuse. After she runs off, he enjoys his meal and transfers Zhang Haida his fair share. Seeing the extra 1,500 in his account, Haida honestly feels like he is dreaming. He glances at Mangai bustling around, wondering if he will ever marry someone like her. He imagines a future wife, remembers how formidable she is, and wilts, bringing his own seafood is much cheaper. Adding a sour and spicy shredded potato dish makes it 3 dishes. And a soup for 2, costing 81 yuan. After eating, they head to an internet cafe to play. He defeats a monster, and remarks that if Zhang Haida is commuting daily, he should just rent a place in town. Zhang Haida slaps his bald head, realizing that makes sense. Since he has the cash now, this makes him startle. Thinking of boss lady Meng Bai, he decides. She is beyond words, telling himself not to meddle in his brother's romance. The tide Chart shows today's low tide is even later than yesterday's, hitting at 7 in the evening. He has dinner at Howing again. Just as he gets ready to head back, a drizzle starts and quickly grows heavy. Foraging tonight is completely out. Jang Hae tells him to stay at the cafe when Manguk drifts over. She and her sister rented a place on the third floor for convenience and the guest room is open. He can sleep there for the night. He says awkwardly that he is uncomfortable in strange beds and would rather go home. She looks baffled. How can a grown man be so picky? The question pins him. He moves to start his electric tricycle, but she tells him to wait and runs into the back kitchen, coming back with a raincoat for him to wear home. Holding it, he feels a warmth in his chest and thanks her. His parents passed early, leaving only him and his sister. They only had each other. He got into a top university, but graduated to no job. Getting dumped, yet even so, there are always people and things that warm him. On the way back, he gets soaked through the raincoat, water leaking into his collar hood. Blown off twice. Luckily, he already installed the water heater and washing machine. Hot shower and a load in the wash, and he settles into bed. Yubo Hong sends him a private message asking how much he earns a month. They studied financial management together. With no family backing, Yubo Hong now grinds daily at a large company. He replies he does not know, asking if his friend needs something. Quietly, he adds up his earnings, already over 60,000, leaving 50,000 after spending. Yubo Hong writes back saying he is exhausted doing the work of 3 or 4 people. He told his boss he wanted to resign, and the boss offered an extra 500 yuan a month. He asks if that is 500 a day, but his friend asks what kind of bad joke that is. He tells him that if he genuinely hates the job, he should resign regardless of 500. Yubo Hong shoots back that 500 is still money, something a guy mooching off his family wouldn't understand, but he has no family left to mooch off. He never told his classmates about his personal life. If he had stayed in the big city, would he be agonizing today? Over a few hundred yuan, he loads up a game and starts playing. By dawn, the rain still hasn't stopped. The last time Giwa Shim visited, she was incredibly envious of his yard. It is big enough to plant scallions, set up a grape trellis, and even grow loofah and cucumber on bamboo poles. But gardens and loofah require constant care, and he wouldn't bother. Instead, he could just scatter scallion, chive, and green vegetable seeds and let them grow. There is also land on his family mountain where he could scatter rice seeds and leave them to survive on their own. He places the seed orders easily. His shipment from last time is scheduled to arrive at the district port tomorrow. His phone vibrates unexpectedly. Chan Chan messages him to say she will be back next week. Finding it baffling, he lets the message sit and thinks of Mosi instead, texting her. She was already on the boat when she sent him the form, catching the last ride out. Before the harbor shut down, she playfully attributes her sister's good luck to him, the rain. He stops, telling Zheng Heide clamming is cancelled. He rides to the port alone. The morning ferry is heavily delayed. Waiting in the crowd, he spots his brother-in-law, Gang Manson. The man works at a factory in the district during the week. Greeted, Manson barely responds, asking why he came out. He explains his delivery is waiting at the port. Manson just smiles thinly. He offers nothing more to Manson. Gawa Island has everything. No package is ever worth a round-trip ferry. He checks his watch. This rainy weather is costing him money. Manson loses his perfect attendance bonus. To him, this educated kid has absolutely zero practical sense. Just then, his phone vibrates again. Iconian wants to know if he saw her text. He replies yes. Immediately, she demands to know why he did not reply. It is pointless. Once he would have spoiled her. Now they are nothing. She claims he changed. Typical drama. He immediately adds her to his blacklist. Over there, the red mark hits like a hard slap. She almost drops her phone, stopping because it was expensive. Getting off the ferry, an old woman carrying a heavy load nearly clips his head. Manson pushes it aside. Be careful, he warns. He thanks him. Manson just nods and runs off. For his bus, he is cold to everyone. Still, he works hard for his family. He has never once argued with his wife. Manson chose this district factory so his kids would not feel left behind. For his sister and his nieces, he tolerates the rough attitude. He has not visited this district years. Unlike quiet, simple Ga Island, Poo District has busy factories, commercial hubs, and the tourist sites of Pushin. He hails a cab. Local driver is always a better living map than the internet. He offers him a Hekian Ha cigarette, asking how many boatyards Poo District has. The driver eyes the Cigarette tucks it behind his ear and asks what size boat he wants. He mentions around 15 meters for fishing. The driver is shocked, a kid buying a boat over 10 meters. He says he is just looking, asking for a suggestion. The driver notes poo. District only has 2 yards left. Mostly, they build yachts now. Fishing boats are custom orders. He offers another cigarette. It gets tucked behind the other ear, which is better. 1 yard is experienced but poorly managed. The other is newer, featuring fresh designs and lower prices. He tells the driver to head toward the closer of the two, the new yard. Inside, several brand new fishing yachts gleam beautifully in their slips. The staff instantly brighten up the moment he mentions buying. He tells them he wants a real fishing boat, not a yacht, pointing to a 12-meter model. Hearing the price, his 15-meter dream completely vanishes. Fully equipped, it costs 2 million won. No wonder the cabbie looked shocked. The salesperson continues his pitch. Boats are like cars. Prices range from thousands to millions. Adding GPS, distress gear, and cabins makes the gap wider. Even simple safety railings cost a fortune. He looks at a smaller yacht nearby, maybe 7 or 8 meters. That model, the salesman quickly explains, is basically for tourists. It costs 400,000 won fully equipped. Yachts are rich toys. Must be nice, right? Back in school, his wealthy classmate always compared their family's luxury boats whenever they got bored. The salesman has no idea. He only has 50,000 won. Checking his pockets, he flips through the catalog, but finds absolutely no motorized wooden boats. This yard does not stoop to such cheap work. Even here, his funds are pretty tight. He barely has enough money for a basic license, forcing him to taxi over to the old yard. Their workers are putting the final touches on a massive, almost complete steel-hulled fishing boat. Climbing inside, he finds everything: a kitchen, beds, and a surprisingly luxurious bathroom. The craftsmanship is excellent, but the 6 million price tag makes his heart sink. He asks if they still build wooden boats, but the workers just laugh. Wood is outdated, and lumber costs more than steel anyway. He asks for cheaper options. They point out a cheaper row in the 700,000 to 800,000 range. They look like a completely different species, but even that is way out of his budget. His dream of buying a boat dies. He must keep grinding the shores for money. The seafood market is close by, so he drops in and finds it absolutely dazzling. He spots fish he cannot even name, noting the restaurant's rate is close to retail. No wonder Mangai does such good business. She is incredibly honest in her dealings. Suddenly, he spots farmed sandworms in a tank. Even those go for a high price. They cost 200 a pound. As he leaves, the boss pitches their high nutritional value. Apparently, they give girls beautiful skin and boost children's immunity, which gets him thinking. His sister always complains her daughters catch colds easily, so he buys 2 pounds. Just then, Mang texts him asking where he is, and he replies he is in Pew District. She asks him to stop by the commercial street to buy an eyebrow razor. Apparently, town-bought ones are not as good, but the idea of a grown man buying one feels awkward. He refuses, but she immediately fires back cute stickers and a soft voice message. In a sweet tone, she calls him brother and promises to make a fruit platter. He gives in. Since he hasn't visited his sister's house lately, he wants to bring gifts. Besides the sandworms, he buys a pile of stationery for the young girls. Then at a children's store, he picks out outfits for a 1st and 3rd grader. He buys them slightly larger so they can still wear them next year. An accessory shop across the street provides hair ties, clips, and that eyebrow razor. By now it is late. He heads back to the port and grabs his package. He tears it open to inspect the items before boarding the ferry. Going from bustling Pew District back to peaceful Ga Island leaves him in a daze. Even elderly villagers who never paid into the system receive 500 a month. For old folks with very few expenses, that little bit of money stretches far. Most medical costs are covered by the rural insurance program as well. Thanks to this welfare, the poor islanders will never go hungry. He returns home. He delivers the eyebrow razors to Manguk, who happily prepares his promised fruit platter. She offers to cook some saved seafood, and he happily invites Jang Hide over to eat. After dinner, Jang Hide takes him to the house he recently rented in town. The place is a solid 2-bedroom with a kitchen, costing only 45 a month. It is conveniently close to both the internet cafe and the nearby restaurant. Jang kept a room for him and even suggests renting the whole building as a hotel. The town's only other guest house is rundown, infested with flies and mice at night. But our protagonist points out that a successful hotel actually needs tourists. He passed the main harbor earlier, and even on a weekday, it was packed. Traffic was completely clogged, proving that is where all the tourist money goes. Jang sighs. He rides back home, stores all his gear, and carries the crab traps to the seawall. The churning water below is clear enough to see right through to the bottom. He walks along the barrier until he spots crabs, lowering each baited trap. Some bait is from the local shop, some from his online order. He splits them up to test which formula works best on the crabs. Old Jen is on his evening stroll, teacup in hand, and wanders over. He asks how many. 6. Old Jen laughs, saying he got nothing recently. Just for fun, he replies. He drops his final trap and packs up. He rides his loaded tricycle from Poo District over to his sister's house. Before he even steps inside, he hears Gangpong screaming at the girls. She's scolding them for ignoring math parentheses and failing English. A 28 in English, she slams the table, bursting into angry tears. She asks why they work so hard if their children cannot even study. Her voice is almost entirely hoarse by the time he opens the door. He hands her a new hairdryer, and her tears instantly turn into smiles. She says he arrived at the perfect time because she cannot teach them. He checks Lingling and Wan Wan's homework. The mistakes are pretty bad. He explains every error patiently. Luckily, the two girls are not stupid. What Gangpong failed to teach, he clears up in just a few sentences. Gangpong grumbles. Apparently, her daughter's brains are just for decoration. Lingling sticks out her tongue, claiming their uncle is a much better teacher. She erupts, our school teacher's completely useless too, she demands to know. But beneath the shouting, she is secretly proud of her smart younger brother. She notices the clothes he brought, measuring them up against her daughter's. Perfect fit, she praises his sharp eye before packing the outfits away. Still, she tells him to buy practice exams next time instead of gifts. Lingling and Wan Wan look at him with adoring, sparkling eyes. He gently advises his sister that kids need a healthy balance of study. He never studied excessively as a child, but still turned out fine. She snaps back that he is naturally smart, while her daughters are slow. The girls go silent. Are they really related to this angry woman? He adds that learning requires flexibility, so she should trust them more. They are only in elementary school, and life is a very long race. Early achievers do not always stay ahead. She pauses, starting to think. It is true, many early stars burn out while quiet ones rise. Seeing her waver, he tells the girls to work hard but play hard. Pay attention in class, understand the lessons, and skip the extra worksheets. They can always reach him for help using their mother's phone. But he instantly worries he might be encouraging bad habits behind his brother-in-law's back. Still, the tension in the girls' eyes melts away, replaced by warmth. They nod in unison. To them, he is the absolute kindest uncle. Their mother was too anxious, forcing reading and math since kindergarten. They tried hard, but as subjects got tougher, she only grew more impatient. She constantly piled extra worksheets on top of their actual school homework. Having her looming right behind them left the poor girls completely terrified. Seeing her daughter's happy faces, Gangpong looks a bit dazed. Her younger brother has good grades, so what he says must be right. Had she really been doing it? Wrong all along, he gently takes her hand, asking if she truly believes that a person's hard times must eventually end, making way for good luck to arrive. She looks at the pile of gifts he brought, her eyes softening as if those difficult years are finally behind them. Then her gaze lands on the plastic bucket, asking if those are peanut worms he gathered. He tells her they are from the Poo District's seafood market meant to boost immunity. She should cook them for the girls. Now she is nearly tearful. Their home village is Hagang Village, and she married into Song Gang Village, where local gossips call her a fool for raising her younger brother. Just to be forgotten once he made it. Talk about foolish gossips, he is already taking care of her. She insists he did not need to buy so much. Still, her lips curve up. He says the vendor promised women get beautiful skin, men get strong, and children stay completely healthy. Both she and his brother-in-law should eat some too. She brightens, asking if he made it up Mount Pa to pay respects to Guan Yan. Going out to sea means relying on heaven. He tells her not this trip, but next time with the entire family. Jiu Island belongs to Ju City under Poo District, an archipelago of many islands where seafaring folk believe deeply in the unseen. Far more than inland people, anyone heading out to sea visits local shrines, asking the goddess of mercy for safe passage. the god of wealth for fortune, and the dragon king for calm waters. Suddenly, the girls run over, spotting the two small fishing rods, asking if they are for them. When he nods, they thank him but are immediately drawn to the two dolls beside the rods. His lips twitch, classic kids. They do not care about fishing. Gangpong suddenly tells Wanwan to check the bath water. Wanwan dashes off, doll in arms, finding that the water has been boiling for a while. Gangpong winces at the wasted electricity. Lingling sighs, wishing that they could also have a water heater. He looks around at the empty bathroom, realizing just how many years have slipped by, aside from a toilet. There is nothing. Gangpong pats Lingling on the forehead, telling her, "No pain means no gain," but Lingling fires back that her mother must have misheard, insisting the saying is actually about getting used to suffering. She sticks out her tongue and bolts. Gangpong quickly mixes the water and calls the girls in for their bath. She asks if he has eaten, offering rice noodles. He declines, fully satisfied, and heads back. Once home, he opens an appliance shop app delivering to the village. He orders a washing machine, a water heater, and a large double-door refrigerator for his sister's place. Next, he considers himself. He eats at Howrah for half his meals, so a fridge is not strictly necessary, but this weather is absolutely brutal. With it, he could have iced drinks and cold watermelon. He adds a smaller fridge for himself, then a standing air conditioner. A fan works at night, but the daytime heat is oppressive. A standing unit would also keep him warm in winter. On heating mode, he orders two, one for himself, one for his sister. In just 10 minutes, he has spent 20,000. Talk about a massive shopping spree. Yards he knows he is nowhere near. It makes more sense to get his license first. Information for the boat license test is right at the entrance of the town supermarket. He calls Jang Heyday to snap a photo of it when he passes by. They set boating class conflicts with tomorrow's beachcombing time. The instructor sends a picture, and he scans the code and adds the instructor, knowing he already knows how to handle a boat. The teacher sends a stack of forms and a thick pile of theory. Operating a vessel is harder than driving a car. It requires mastering controls, tides, meteorology, and weather patterns. He must start studying again. None of this is hard, though. Dawn brings a medium tide. The window runs from mid-morning to early afternoon. He skips breakfast. Jang Heyday shows up mid-morning with steamed buns and soy milk from town. The buns are stuffed with shrimp and shellfish, tasting far fresher than any inland pork buns. He tells him they are heading to Four Slough Gate again, where saltwater meets fresh water. Last time he found wild bamboo shoots and white sea urchins there. The area is incredibly rich. Last time he spotted something special at night but did not dare touch it in the dark. Today in broad daylight he will dig it out. Shovels are heavy, so they usually carry only one, but he tells him to bring both. Four Slough Gate is quite a distance. He rides the tricycle with him inside. Plenty of people are beachcombing in the daylight. The rain has left the water murky. The entry is more mud than sand. Suddenly, Jang Heyday calls out his name in a rush of excitement. For a moment, he thinks his friend has lost his mind. Then he sees him staring at a stretch of kelp ahead. He tells him they have been picking up much bigger things lately, so surely he cannot be excited over mere kelp. But his friend says they can eat it themselves, and the restaurant could put it on the menu. He agrees, and they drag two pieces into the bucket, filling it halfway, so he tosses one back. His scanning range has now expanded to 120 meters. Talk about a massive upgrade. Now the real treasure shows up, he tells him. There are conch. The friend lights up. Conch are heavy and expensive. Last time at the market, they heard a pound of conch goes for 200, but he scans the area and sees absolutely nothing. He walks unhurriedly to the edge of a large kelp patch, flips it over, gives two light shovel strokes, and a large conch emerges. He points him toward another stretch and tells him to search under the kelp. He spots several conchs under the seaweed that have not yet fully. Jang Heyday flips the seaweed back, uncovering one wriggling for cover, then turns up two more nearby. His side is easier as the buried ones show up plainly through his infinite scanning system. Within a short stretch, he has gathered 5 or 6, each weighing half a pound. He is convinced he stumbled into a conch nest. A figure wrapped head to toe with only 2 slits for eyes asks if he really found that many. Under this blazing noon sun, everyone covers up. He cannot tell who it is until she pulls her cloth down to reveal buck teeth. It is Boa Shim. He asks if she is foraging here too, since this spot is a long walk from their village. She says the coast near home yields nothing now, and everyone says Four Slough Gate Is the place, another bundled figure greets him, and he blinks not. Recognizing her either, she tugs her cloth down and says she is his Aunt Giwashim. Her eyes nearly pop out at the conch in his bucket. Boashim swings a mud-covered hand toward his clothes, making him jump back. He tells them he already worked through this area so they can take their time. Jang Haede glows and says that following his lead is never a mistake. They have struck a conch fortune today. He leads him toward the muddier flats. The patch where he saw that creature last time is empty. He stretches his scanning range, and at the edge of his vision catches a tail. He sprints over to find several spots nearby. Pulling out his iron shovel, he tells Haede to do the same. They sink a pit together, though his friend has no idea what they are. But he is strong. The hole grows deep enough that a small crowd drifts. One onlooker asks if youngsters are foraging these days, too. Another grumbles they should be at the factory. A third tells them that digging deep will not make seafood appear. None are from their village, so he smiles and tells them he and his friend are just playing. That makes them mutter about two young men who will not work and will not even forage properly, breaking their parents' hearts. He stays calm, stopping at 2.5 meters. Haede squats, seeing nothing until he kicks the side twice. A smooth, glossy head pushes from the dirt, and Haede snatches it cleanly. The villagers nearly fall over, calling it an earth dragon. Seriously, that is worth half a month of wages, right after his friends. He hauls out a second from the same pit, even longer. An earth dragon hole has two mouths, and this one held a pair. They gasp, figuring the two together weigh nearly 6 pounds, worth 300 or 400 each. They ask if the two knew they were here before they ever dug. Seasoned old foragers can sometimes read the soil and guess. No one expects two young men to have that knack. Their eyes land on his overflowing bucket of conch, and they ask how they keep pulling off hauls this big. When seafood thins every year, he tells them he has X-ray vision and can see straight through the ground. They glare and tell him to stop joking, but he just laughs, drily saying his elders taught him a few tricks before they passed away. That satisfies them. Inland tomb raiders possess a similar inherited eye and skills like that are never shared. Most drift off in 2s and 3s, but 3 stay glued. Behind them, he stops on a precise patch, draws a circle, and they sink the next pit. In soil so soft they could almost dig with their hands. At nearly 3 meters, he drops in and pulls out an earth dragon cleanly. The watchers go slack-jawed, muttering that with an ability like his, why would anyone screw bolts at a factory? By the fourth catch, they're clapping, eaten up with envy. Giwashim and Boashim wandered past with a few shrimp and bread crabs worth maybe 1,001 total. They had been pleased, certain his luck had rubbed off. One look at his pile drains them of it. Giwashim, despite the sting, is genuinely glad for him. Their families have been neighbors for years, and their parents worried so much before passing away. Her only regret is that if he stays on the island forever, his elite university education will go to waste. More villagers drift back, and a few try to wrangle their way into following him on future forages, but earth dragon hunting is too specific. An old man asks if there are any more, but he tells him probably not. Honestly, he really hates snake-like creatures. Besides, it is still early, so he picks a few snails and river clams for himself. While gathering the snails, he scoops up 3 mud crabs. Haide's luck holds with some bread crabs and a heap of mud snails. By the time all 4 buckets are full, the tide is creeping in. The villagers can only stare as they haul 4 full buckets each. While theirs lift one-handed, they are both soaked through. His place has a water heater now. Once they have showered, they hop on the electric tricycle for town. The hall could die from lack of oxygen if they wait. Manguk pats his shoulder, praising him for constantly pulling off massive hauls like this. Mang B. He prods her to weigh 5 earth dragons at 16 pounds and 8,000 conch at 23 pounds for 560, and 3 mud crabs at nearly 7 pounds. The total payout hits 1,361, completely shattering his expectations again. Manguk always gives fair prices. Soon, the system chimes with his successful sale. Earning 13,600 points, his grand total hits over 14,000. He can spend 12,500 points to expand his scanning range. He confirms the upgrade, pushing his range to 145, and Manguk asks him sweetly if he is selling the other bucket. He tells her he is keeping those to eat later. She points out 2 large sea snails worth 300. He says he will save one for dinner and give the other to her. She had mentioned before that she liked the sound of conch shells. She is stunned by his kindness. She only said it in passing, but promises to prepare the delicious meat for them. She happily carries it back to the kitchen. Meanwhile, he is absolutely starving. Having skipped lunch, he watches the dishes arrive. Hot clear soup, river. Snails, savory conch meat, steamed crab, spicy kelp, and a massive seafood bowl. They wolf everything down, and he transfers 1,400 to Heyday. A grin spreads. Heyday boasts that he feels like he will never run out of cash again. He jokingly asks Heyday to lend him some. Instantly, the loyal friend grabs his phone. To send the transfer, he has to quickly stop him, laughing off the joke. They head to an internet cafe until pure exhaustion finally catches up with them. He crashes in the spare room of his friend, sleeping heavily until morning. Waking up, he gasps. He completely forgot about the crab traps along the distant seawall. He asks Heyday to join him, but his friend politely shakes his head. Since the traps are already full, Heyday does not want to make things awkward. Over splitting profits, so he heads to his tricycle outside the Hongre restaurant. A middle-aged man stops him, asking if he is the restaurant supplier. The man is in his late 40s, with a friendly, welcoming smile. Pointing to the neighboring acquisition shop, the man introduces himself as Jayan, the owner. He offers a cigarette, but he politely declines. Jayan heard about the massive haul of rare sea snails yesterday and eagerly asks if there is more. He wonders if the boss wants to buy his entire catch. Jayan nods immediately, wanting everything. But wait, was not Jayan the one who blacklisted the local Haging village? Jayan explains that when villagers called before, he simply pointed them toward middlemen. He told them to go to Uncle Yamo, as prices are always identical. Cutting out the middleman would make them more cash, but it ruins relationships. But then he bypassed the system, sending his seafood straight to the restaurant. This direct competition actually hurt Jayan's business. Jayan admits he underestimated him at first,